Hello and welcome to my channel. Oh, yep, there we go. Sorry, I'm seeing audio levels bouncing around that I didn't set, and it's weird, but whatever. Here we are. Welcome to my channel. Let me just turn this down a little bit. I'm whiter than normal. Not saying something because I'm really white. Hi guys. So this is probably going to be a fairly boring stream for everybody, so everybody just stop watching now, I guess. Bye. Yeah, I'm just going to be recording my process. So like, I guess this will give you a sneak peek into a video that's coming up, and if you watch the whole stream, you'll basically have the whole video under your belt. So yeah, maybe I'll be affecting my views on my main channel with this, but I don't care. Mark Rothenbuehler? Sorry for saying that wrong, says, but I voted no on watching VR record and edit a video live. It's like my vote didn't count or something. No, your vote absolutely did count. It's just that the no's lost. Yes on the watering hole won, I think it had 45%, and then yes on the main channel had like another 15 to 20%, something like that. So yeah, I decided to do it here. So here we are. Also, there will be no tweets tomorrow night because I'm actually going to be having on, her name is slipping my mind, but I'm having on someone from the Recovering from Religion Foundation. So I'm going to be interviewing her, and that is going to be on my main channel because I'm going to set it up as a fundraiser so that people can, like, super chats can go to the Recovering from Religion Foundation directly. And yeah, apparently you can't set up a fundraiser on a channel with less than 10,000 subscribers, so it's got to be the main channel if I want to do a fundraiser. Yeah, and yet I am here. I was going to say, like, you voted no, but you're here watching anyway. So, I'm glad to have you. Okay. Need to have something on during work. Yeah, this is the kind of stream you're not going to want to really pay attention to. So yeah, I am probably going to be ignoring the chat for the most part. Like I'll peek in occasionally, but if you have any questions about my process, or if you want me to comment on something, send a super chat. The way I have this set up, super chats will ruin my audio record, but because of the delay, you guys have no way of knowing whether or not I will be recording when the super chat noise comes through, so don't worry about that. I can always redo segments. If you guys make me have to do like 15 takes of the same line that I keep screwing up, then I might mute it for a sec just to finish that if that happens. But yeah, not really much to expect out of this one, so I guess I'm gonna start recording. My goal here is I have to go pick the kids up from the day camp that they're at. I have to leave here around 3 p.m. So we've got, let's see what it's 20 after 10. 1, 2, 1, 2. So I got about 5 hours, a little, yeah, 4 hours and 40 minutes. I'll definitely get the recording done in there. I probably won't get the whole video edited by then, but I'll be on my way in the process at least. So without further ado, I'm just going to start. Oh, wait, you guys probably. So here we go. There's my setup. I got my script over on the left, and I got Adobe Audition on the right, which I have a love-hate relationship with Adobe. They're good products when they work, but occasionally they just don't work for no apparent reason. And I actually had to copy DLL files off of my laptop to fix an install of Adobe here that just broke for no reason. The DLL files just got corrupted or went missing. I don't know. Any name suggestions for a fractal that looks like a skull? Oh no. It's 10:30 in the morning. I'm not at my most creative in the mornings. So anyway, so I do things a little bit differently than most YouTubers. Like I know Paul, for instance, he records all his audio in like one big long stretch and then edits it down from there, or hires an editor depending on how he's feeling. For me, I actually find it easier to record in small chunks and edit them as I go. So I actually put like timestamps on like where this file goes in the video that I'm responding to. So like I play 11 seconds of the video and then I insert this paragraph, and then I play to 23 seconds in and insert this paragraph. So if I have those all as separate files, it makes it a little easier for me. And the audio editing is a little bit less annoying if I just do it as I go. It also kind of appeals to my ADHD in that I can, like, I have multiple things that I can work at the same time. Like, I record a little bit and then I edit a little bit and then I record a little bit more. As for some people that might take them out of the flow. For me, it helps me stay focused on what I'm actually doing. So yeah. Ooh, Mandel bone set. I like that. That's a good one. I probably could have thought of that, but like I said, I'm not at my most creative this time of day. Anyway, so yeah, you're just going to listen to me record, so you get to hear the whole video without hearing the video I'm responding to. Although I do sometimes, in order to get inflections right, I will play a little bit of their video occasionally, so you might get to hear that. Anyway, so yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. But like I said, I'll probably be ignoring the chat, so super chat or donation would be the best way. I'm not trying to get you to give me money. It doesn't matter. Like, the money doesn't matter. That's just the way to get my attention. So I'm sorry that that's the only way. It is what it is. Anyway, let's go. Oh yeah, I also title my files with the timestamps. So my intro is 0-00. Just to keep things organized. Hello and welcome to my channel. Vice Trino here. Today we're looking at a video put out by Father Casey of Breaking in the Habit. Last time we saw him, he was one of many screw-ups. Last time we saw him, he was condescendingly suggesting that an atheist isn't good at being an atheist unless they've read a bunch of atheist philosophy and the works of several Catholic theologians. And if that's the bar for being a good atheist, then it should apply to all the other religions as well, right? So it's actually physically impossible to be a good atheist in that way, as that would require spending your entire life doing nothing but reading the works of theologians from all of the world's religions. Of course, he didn't even consider the existence of other religions, obviously. Said that word religion's funny there. Of course, he didn't even consider the existence of other religions. Obviously, the only options are atheist or Catholic. So in this video, he purports to explain why God doesn't answer prayer. So let's take a look at that. All right, so if some of you may have noticed, if you're reading along in the script, that I don't always read it exactly as I write it. Of course, because, yeah, sometimes when I'm saying it, it just, the way it's written doesn't quite come out well. Last time. Breaking in the Habit. Last time we saw him. All right. So there we go. There's the first track down. And then here is where I'm going to be... I'll listen to the first 11 seconds so I can see, because that yup could have different inflections depending on what he says.
Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who seeks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks the door will be opened.
Okay, so that's kind of like okay. You'll see. Yep, and to preempt the inevitable argument that God always answers prayer, but sometimes the answer is no, or the you asked for the wrong thing, or the you asked for the wrong thing, or whatever other excuse. That verse doesn't say, ask for the right thing and it will be given to you. Seek and you shall find, as long as you're seeking something that God wants you to seek. Knock and the door will be open to you, unless you're there for something that God doesn't want to give you. It stated unconditionally, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened. Of course, being Catholic, he probably being Catholic, he would probably not approve of my overly simplistic way of looking at this. Catholics are not tied to a literal interpretation of the Bible as many evangelicals are, but this does add to the case against a God in my mind, as the Bible is very adamant that God always keeps his promises, and this very much reads as one of God's promises, even if you can find the interpretational wiggle room to get away from what this verse is actually saying. Of course, unless your knock and the door will be open to you, unless, or whatever other, or the you asked for the wrong thing, or whatever other oh, that was a bad spot to restart, or whatever. Alright, this is one of the things I like about Adobe, is this spectral thing down here makes it easier to see when I do something like this where I kind of slur my words together and then I decide that that's a good place to restart the take thing or whatever, like that's thing, or it's not there's not a clear break there. You can actually kind of see from the audio, from the spectral analysis thing here, like this is the G on the end of thing, and then right here is about where the or starts, so that makes it easier to figure out where to make the cut in this horrible spot that I chose to cut. And then sometimes cutting just a little bit off the beginning there makes it transition a little bit smoother. Oh, that doesn't look good. Or whatever other... Okay, that wasn't too bad. I've done worse. Or the... Usually or is a good place to start because usually the ors come by themselves. I've learned over years and years and years that and is a terrible word to restart on unless it's the beginning of the sentence, because ands almost always flow from something else. Or the you asked for the wrong thing. You asked for the wrong... Or the... But usually ors are starting their own thought, so they... Oh, or the... Yeah. Yeah, we getting you guys giving the atheist responses to these things. The whole God answers prayers, but sometimes the answer is no thing is bullshit. Not responding is just not giving it. Yeah, I actually get to that later in the script. Let's move Twidget up above everything so that now you're in front of my script. There we go. All right. Oh, somehow these got...
These are the words of Jesus in Matthew's Gospel. Care for us. Inspiring words of the power of prayer. There is nothing beyond God's grasp, and so seek out God, and he will be with you.
Okay, I don't always check to make sure that I'm saying things right, but I usually do. So you might get the whole response video just from listening to me record without having to watch the edit. Oh, this is one of the things I hate about Adobe. So when it does this, when it zooms in super tight where I'm talking, if I were to actually record my whole thing with that, the whole program just crashes eventually. Like if you go more than a few seconds with it zoomed in like that, it just crashes. I don't know why. Sometimes it starts that way, but you'll see me, if it starts that way, sometimes I'll have to stop and then delete and then start and stop, and sometimes I have to do it 2 or 3 times, and I have no idea what's causing that. I've talked to other people that use Adobe. I seem to be the only person that has this issue. I'm sure someone else has this issue as well. I'm just searching for the wrong things. But yeah, I don't know. That's one of the things I hate about it. But everything else, it makes my workflow so much easier. I'm glad you're enjoying yourself, Koldan Stalstrom. I'm getting the Europeans in here because I'm normally not streaming at European friendly times. So if I were to guess, that's Dutch. Maybe. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to try and guess next time. Okay. I mean, Jesus literally prayed that God take the cup away from him, meaning that he did not want to be crucified. Jesus is supposed to be God, so is this... So is this God saying, hey, me? Yeah, I don't want to do that thing anymore, and all things are possible through me, so maybe don't make me do it? And yet God did not answer his own prayer? Same goes for that verse where Jesus prays for unity among his disciples, and all that come to believe through them. Same goes for that verse where Jesus prays for unity among his disciples, and all that come to believe through them. We can see that there was theological disagreement among Christians beginning before even the earliest Christian writings. In fact, most of Paul's writings were him disagreeing with what other Christians were teaching, including Peter, the direct disciple of Jesus, on whom Jesus said he would build his church. And yet we don't have a single writing from Peter, and the earliest Christian writings were from Paul's sect, which disagreed with Peter on a number of issues. And Paul ended up being the foundation of the church, not Peter. So I guess Jesus was wrong when he said that Peter would be that foundation, and he was wrong when he prayed for unity among his followers. See, and that time I added a little bit on the end because I realized that when I was writing the script, I completely lost track of what I was talking about as I went on that little tangent about Paul being the rock on which the church was built instead of Peter. And yet, we can see, same goes for that, all that come to believe. Same goes for prayer. Same goes for that verse. Oh, there's a little. There's another little thing you can do with the audio spectral thing is just delete part of your audio spectrum. So there's a little tiny pop sort of thing there. Same goes for that verse, and that deleted it. It was just like that little tiny bit that was in there. This was something that, this audio spectrum thing was something that when I first saw it, I thought it was so gimmicky. Like, why the fuck would I need that? And it has become one of the most useful tools for audio editing. So Jesus is supposed to be God. Yeah, and see, this is where, like, this is a bit of the end of the D, so the D kind of slurs into the so there. So again, you can kind of, this isn't as clear as the last one, but God. So is this God's? But yeah, yeah, it's also very pretty. It is pretty. But yeah, my cuts have become much less noticeable since I've started using Adobe because of this spectral thing. It's kind of great. Okay, I think I remember this. I don't know, man. I was a Christian for a long time, and I can't think of a single instance of him answering my prayer in a meaningful way. Well, I can think of many times that he failed to answer my prayers, even when they were of a kind that he promises to always answer, like for healing. Again, the verses that say believers will be able to heal the sick do not specify that they will only be healed if God wills it. They just flat out say they will be healed. And yet, I attended a church with a woman who was dying of cancer and many times had been anointed with oil and prayed over with the laying on of hands, as laid out in James chapter 5, but she still died of cancer. Of course, there are a myriad of excuses given for occurrences like this. Obviously, someone doing the praying wasn't sincere, and God will only answer the prayer if everyone involved was sincere, because he's a jerk like that. She didn't have enough faith in the healing, and healing only works if she has faith. Her death would cause a non-believer somewhere to come to God somehow, and so was used as an instrument to bring about that greater good. And so was used as an instrument to bring about that greater good. But none of these are actually biblical positions. The Bible promises that God will heal the sick person as long as the person doing the praying believes, and you can't tell me that there wasn't a single person in that church who sincerely believed. I know I did, but I also know that I'm likely to get the note. I know I did, But I also know that I'm likely to get no true Scotsman here because I don't believe now, so obviously my faith was never genuine to begin with, which seems like more than a bit of a cop-out if you ask me. Am I buffering? Yeah, you know what? I'm asking a lot of my computer right now because I'm both streaming and recording. I know. And as long as the, I mean, it should as be. Long as the I'm seeing 0 drop frames, so as long as, I don't know. As long, maybe it's my internet. Am I don't think I'm connected to a VPN, but that would tend to slow things down a little. Nope, no VPN. Oh, there's updates available for Adobe. I don't want to do that. Because Adobe... Remember love-hate relationship? When they update, they usually break some shit. And so... Oh, and so... Get the little tiny thing out of there. Somehow. And so was used as... Yeah, remember when I said that "and" is a terrible word to cut on? I've known that for years. Of course. And somehow I still managed to forget and start over with the word "and." They just all the time. So I've actually noticed that over the years I've gotten better at like pausing just a little bit before I say "and" rather than just not choose "and" as the starting point for the next take. So it's kind of amusing. Like, I didn't do that on purpose. It's just kind of developed. So it's kind of amusing to see how it's evolved for me. Aw, thank you, Canuck. We can be heroes just for one day. Okay, I don't know what I'm saying. No, I really can't do in this one. So we'll skip to 31 seconds.
We can get together and share how time after time, something in our lives seemed hopeless until God intervened with his saving hand.
Oh, yeah. That's when all Christians can think of something that God answered prayer for. Okay. No, I really can't. Even when I was a Christian, I couldn't think of a single time when God answered my prayer in a meaningful way. And I don't mean the simple "God helped me find my car keys" sort of prayers. I'm talking about the stories that I've always heard of someone not having enough money to make it through the month, putting their faith in God, and then suddenly a relative that they almost never speak to sends them a check for $10,000 because the Lord put it on their heart. Stories like that were commonplace, but I never saw anything like that in my own life. In fact, I became more financially stable than I had ever been before. In fact, I became more financially stable than I had ever been before in my life, pretty much exactly when I became an atheist. That's when I had a better job just essentially drop into my lap through coincidence. Someone I knew from a previous job saw me in the parking garage where they worked as a manager and emailed me to send them my resume. I was hired immediately and went from working 14-hour shifts for less than minimum wage and very unreliable tips to working 7-hour shifts at a bit over minimum wage and only dinner shifts. To working 7-hour shifts at a bit over minimum wage and only dinner shifts at that, which allowed me to spend more time with my kids during the day, not to mention working on my YouTube channel that would eventually replace this job, and with tips that reliably made up the difference in the number of hours worked between the two jobs, plus enough extra that allowed us to be comfortable as long as we were careful not to overspend. When I was a believer, God never dropped such an opportunity in my lap. It seemed to me that God answers prayers in a manner that are... So it seems to me that God answers prayers in that manner... Should probably read the whole sentence before I try to say it. So it seems to me that God answers prayers in that manner at about the same rate as random chance would, which leaves me wondering, God, what would you say you do here? Oh, I forgot to... Okay. This is another hate thing about Adobe. So normally if you... I'm going to use the clip of the guy saying, "What would you say you do here?" at the end of this one. And I would normally include that in the name, and I would normally write that in my script, so I remembered to name the file that. If I just rename this, Adobe won't export it with the name. It'll export it with the original name, not the renamed name. So I have to... What would you say you do here. That's a long name. I probably could have shortened that. So now that'll remind me to put in the clip. So now I have to, instead of just renaming the thing, I have to like copy and paste my audio here because Adobe doesn't, it just goes by the original name instead of whatever you renamed it to, which is annoying. It's just a minor nuisance though. So it seems to our so it seemed to me lab. It seemed to me marker 7. Nope. Lab. So it seems to me okay, I don't know why you're talking about pacing, but if you stick around for when I get to the video editing eventually, I'm actually standing on a treadmill right now, and I'm going to turn on the treadmill when I work on the video. Add a bit to working 7 hours over minimum, bit over. Oh no, I did that again, didn't I? Add a bit. Okay, that's not too bad. Shifts, add a bit over minimum. Ooh, that cut was tight. To working 7-hour shifts, add a bit over minimum. You can't even hear it. Nice. To working. Boop. Well, tips to working. In fact, It's actually one of the things I've learned about editing. Is I used to try and cut my breaths out, but I found that made the edits more obvious. And like I've gotten comments in the past like, oh, you can hear you breathe, like intake of breath so often. This thing, I don't watch your videos to listen to you breathe, but if you cut the breaths out, it doesn't sound natural. And when you leave them in, most of the time you don't notice. Or most people don't know. Like I only got that comment like once. So there are a lot of little things you learn about editing as you go. Oh, are we talking about me waving my hands around as I talk? You guys can't see most of it, but I am gesturing like down here. I'm probably a bit more subdued than normal because I'm conscious of the fact that you're all watching me. Actually, how many people are watching me right now? 7. Oh, nope, 44. I don't know why it said 7. 44 is more than I expected. Hi, guys. Nope. Back to there we go. Okay, so I'm not going to listen to this because I remember what he says, but he tells a story of a time when his dad, like, he really wanted to go to an expensive college, and right around that time his dad got a better job than he had before at a university that was in the same network as the college he wanted to go to. So we'll see. Yeah, see? Stories like this are a dime a dozen. If I had still been a Christian and prayed for a better job while I was working in the dank cave that is the Rainforest Cafe, then when I got that email from my former coworker inviting me to send him my resume, I would have seen that as God answering my prayer, and it sounds like a powerful story. But since it wasn't an answered prayer, it's just a coincidence. But it wasn't an answered prayer. It's just a coincidence. New jobs are a thing that happens sometimes. Running into old colleagues in unexpected places is a thing that happens sometimes. Hell, for all we know, the reason that Casey's dad got a new job at the local university in the same system as the school he wanted to attend was specifically because his dad knew what school he wanted to attend and knew it would be more manageable if he got a job at a university in that system, and so he went out and through his own hard work applied for and received that job. And now you're thanking God instead of your dad. I mean, I guess it's possible that the job just fell into his lap in a similar manner as my better job did. But Casey didn't give enough details for us to actually know that for sure, and I feel like if that were the case, then those details would be included, as that would make the argument that That would make the argument that it was an answered prayer much stronger. I know I stopped at a bad place there. That would make the Ooh, no, that wasn't too bad. I thought about restarting at the as, but I thought that was one of those words that flow into each other. I mean, I guess it's possible that... Oh, this is the one I screwed up a few times. I mean, I guess... There we go. Boop. Add. I mean... Crowd of nude strangers talking amongst ourselves watching you make this video. Doesn't that help with your shyness, Vice Rhino? No, I'm not shy. Actually, the only reason I'm wearing shorts is because I had to take my kids to the day camp and drop them off, so I just left them on. I stream without pants on a lot. Because you guys don't see down there. And so he went... System. And so he went... And knew it would be more manageable if... And knew it would... See, there we go. I stopped on and twice there in a row. And knew... I don't know why and just feels natural to restart at. The reason that case... Hell, for all we know, the yeah, no, my hair's not curly, it's wavy. And yeah, I haven't made an appointment for a haircut in a while. But since... So it keeps getting longer. And you know what? My daughter wants to give me Steve Harrington hair at some point. So she wants me to have my hair a little longer. Story. But if I had... So I'm growing it out for her. Yeah, see? Stories like this are...
It's like that. How true Psalm 138 is. On the day I called for help, you answered me.
Well, on the day I called for help, he left me with crappy jobs that had me wondering if I'd have enough money to buy more toilet paper when I ran out. And also, lest this be taken this way, I am not saying that if you become an atheist, your life will suddenly fall into place. I hope nobody would take that from my story, but I want to make that explicit. I was lucky. There was nothing special about me that made me deserve a good job more than anyone else. And not everyone will be lucky. This is exactly the kind of system that we would expect from a godless universe, but not really what we would expect from a god. This is exactly the kind of system we would expect from a godless universe, but not what we would expect from a god, especially not a god who claims to answer prayers. Not really what... This is exactly... Not what we would... Not what... I'm splitting hair on hair's definitions? Oh, you mean how it's like wavy instead of curly? This is... Not really what... This is... Okay, well, I have a stepbrother who grows an afro. Will be lucky. This is... That's curly hair. This is not. If I let it grow out, it'll just be long and wavy, no curls. But it's also thick as fuck. And like my daughter wants to make me look like Steve Harrington, but it will fail. Like she'll make it work and it'll stay for like maybe 3 minutes and then it'll look like this again. Why does Vice Rhino sound like a chill super dad? Oh, work. Yikes. Oh, you mean you have to work? I try to be a chill super dad. It's actually one of the hardest things about being a parent is not getting annoyed at happy noises. It's like they're laughing. It's okay. It's okay. They're having fun. Just leave them alone. This is better than screaming at each other. It's like sometimes you just want peace and quiet, but they're so loud. Okay, so this one. See, that's called priming. This video isn't directed at atheists, it's directed at Christians who are wondering why God didn't answer their prayers, or the prayers of someone they know. So he tells a story of when God answered his prayer, and then talks about how easy it'll be for everyone to remember a time when that happened, which gets the person thinking back to a time when something coincidental happened in their life that ended up being a good thing for them, no matter how minor, and if they can't think of one right away, they will spend some time coming up with an answer that reinforces the idea that God does answer prayer, right before he goes on to explaining that, no, actually, God doesn't answer prayers, at least not any better than random chance does, but you'd better attribute those random chance instances to God. Yeah, I lost my train. There we go. Oh, lost it again. There we go. Okay. Sometimes I forget how to read. But you'd better attribute those random chance instances to God and not random chance, even though they happen for non-believers at pretty much the same rate. Or even a better rate in some cases, like that study that found that people who were not being prayed... Skipped a line. See, I forget how to read. Or even a better rate in some cases, like that study that found that people who were being prayed for and knew about it had worse post-surgery outcomes than the people who were not being prayed for. If praying for me causes me to be more likely to experience complications rather than actual healing, then I'll take my chances with random chance, thanks very much. Now I'm half expecting to see the regular creationist trolls that show up in my comments making comments, making it known that they are praying for me to have a long and healthy life so that I'll actually have a worse outcome in the end. That would work, right? Yeah, silence is the most worrying. Absolutely. Is why I don't do voice role playing. I don't do voice role playing either. You just ask my D&D group. That would work, right? I don't really do the voice acting thing. Making it. And now I'm half expecting to see the regular creationist trolls that show up in my comments making my comments, making it known that they... how many regular trolls do you have? Right now there are, I think, 3. They come and go. Now I couldn't tell you what their names are, but I know them when I see them. There are a few that have made enough of an impression that I could tell you their names even now, and when they haven't been on my channel in years, like Jungle Jargon. I think Jungle Jargon, I think S Global was one as well. I think S Global may have been like a stock account for Jungle Jargon. Which D&D setting? I've played like 2 games of D&D. I'm irregular. Take some Metamucil. Get some fiber in your diet. That'll help with that. Bye, Darth. If praying... I actually probably should have thought of this, but this is going slower than it normally does because I'm talking to you guys. Had worse... That study that found that people who were being prayed for and knew about it had worse... Or even, in some cases, even a better... Or... Well, of course that's where I would take that. Why would I not? Fiber makes for floaters. Okay. Sometimes I forget how to read. But you'd better... You chance does, but you right before that God does answer prayer right before. And yes, I do make these same sound effects when I'm editing without you guys watching. See, now this one I remembered to put in my little note telling me that I'm going to add the Simpsons clip. There's that clip of Homer praying. He's like, God, I'm going to make these, I offer these sacrificial cookies and milk to you. If you wish me to eat them on your behalf, make no sign. Thy will be done. Yum, 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 yum. Kyle Butt better. If you say you love me, I say you better. You better, you better, you bet. You butt. You Kyle Butt. Okay, let's see.
We can just as readily come up with instances in which he did. How often have we found ourselves in distress, alone and in desperate need, and heard nothing?
Yup. You'd expect that if a God was going to deny a prayer, he could at least go through the trouble of communicating that denial to us, instead of just ignoring us. Yeah, so, like, basically, he could, like, if he's going to say no, he could actually say it, instead of just pretending like he doesn't exist. Like he doesn't.
Jesus tells us to knock and it shall be opened. I can think of plenty of times that I found nothing but a locked door. From the trivial things like praying that I'd pass a math test to quite serious things like praying for an end to war for the healing of a sick relative.
Okay. Oh, shit. Why did I just deleted my whole thing for some stupid reason. Meaning that God broke his promise to open when you knock. Well, the most obvious way to reconcile that is to come to realize that the God that is described by the Bible is not consistent with our observed reality, so if we side with reality here, that would mean that God does not exist. At least, not the God described by the Bible. You're enjoying this more than quite a few try not to laugh challenges I watch. Am I weird? I mean, you probably are weird, but not necessarily because you're enjoying this. Hedging with the mysterious ways defense, I see, so that even if you can't come up with a reasonable answer, it comes down to God's ways are above our ways. Never you mind that he could have made us with the capability of understanding why he does things the way he does and chose not to. Just trust that he's real and answers prayers in the best way possible, even if everything points to it not actually being the best way possible.
For myself, faith doesn't remove this question. I do think it offers a few helpful answers. The first is that despite the sincerity of our prayers, there can be a flaw in our prayers.
Yeah, it's not that God doesn't answer prayers, it's that you didn't pray right. The problem isn't with God, it's with you. You did something wrong. You didn't believe hard enough. You didn't ask for the right thing. It's your fault. This is a disgusting answer when paired with the fact that a lot of people are out there praying to just have enough. This is a disgusting answer when paired with the fact that a lot of people are out there praying to just have enough money to get by and then end up evicted, living on the street without their basic needs being met. This fault. This is a which then brings us into the territory of God only answering the prayers for things that he was going to do anyway, which leaves us wondering, what's the point of praying in the first place? Which, in this case, would leave us wondering, what's the point in praying in the first place? If you ask for the wrong thing, you are denied. But if you ask for something that is in line with God's will, he grants it. But would he not do the thing that is in line with his will anyway, whether you ask for it or not? Which gonna do anyway, which
things. I'll give you an example. When I was in college, my girlfriend broke up with me. It's okay. I'm over it now. She was the love of my life, and I was absolutely devastated.
a monk with a girlfriend. And you responded by joining an order of monks who vow to stay celibate for their entire lives. That seems perfectly healthy. Well, apparently I let him talk for a bit there. That's not like me. It's another comment I get on my channel semi-frequently, is that you talk too much. Why don't you let the other guy say what he's trying to say? Like, why do you always break in? Like, it's like, yeah, sometimes maybe I do break in too frequently, but I didn't start a YouTube channel to not say things. Like, people who talk too much are the people who start YouTube channels. Oh, this is when he explains that God couldn't bring his girlfriend back to him because that would violate her free will. That's fun. Okay, but the problem with that is that any prayer that isn't for something like nice weather or healing from disease or something like that, any prayer that involves other people in any way, will be violating free will in the same way as asking for your girlfriend to come back. You believe that God gave your dad a better job so that you could attend the school you wanted to. Did God mess with your father's free will so that he would apply for that job? Did he mess with the free will of the person who decided to hire your father? If he didn't, then that means that your father was going to apply for that job and be hired anyway without God's intervention, which means that he didn't actually answer your prayer. That's just what was going to happen anyway. Oh, that's too many anyways. That's just what was going to happen. In order for that to actually be an answered prayer, he had to have interfered with someone's free will along the line, which you just said is a kind of prayer that he will not answer because he doesn't do that. Yeah, it's your channel. If they want to hear the other person uninterrupted, they can watch the original video. Yeah, I usually leave links to the original video, with rare exceptions. That's just like, there's that guy that I covered that on his channel, he's got like rare. That's just what he's got, like 100 subscribers, and it had almost no views, but it was worth responding to. But like, at the same time, I don't know if that one's live yet. Probably. Nice to see how things come to life. Yeah, if that's what you call it, coming to life. Let's see, 325.
As I want it. When we feel that God is not answering our prayers, it might be good to take a step back and look at what we're actually asking for. Is it reasonable? Is it something that fits with who we know God to be? Is it something that will ultimately continue the work of God, building the kingdom and leading to salvation?
Well, in the case of the woman who died of cancer in the church I used to attend, absolutely yes to all three, undoubtedly. And yet, God said no, or rather didn't bother to say yes, with the complete non-answer being the equivalent of a no, but without actually having him bother to tell anyone that his answer was no, leaving us to repeatedly pray for her healing for several years, despite God knowing that the ultimate answer would be no. Okay, I don't know why you're comparing Adobe to Disney, other than, like, maybe it's a subscription model, which is kind of annoying. Adobe and Microsoft being evil. Adobe's not evil, it's just kind of dumb sometimes. Like I said, when they work, they're great products. But when they don't work, it really fucking sucks. And once a year, every year after January 1st, their next update always breaks all your shortcuts to them, because they change the name of the actual executable file, or no, they change the folder it's installed in to include the year. So every year I have to fix all my shortcuts, because it can't just go through and, I guess, detect the shortcuts and update them for you. It's really frustrating and annoying. Yeah, my recording is the no. It's definitely there's a different like you. I don't know how to explain it, but like, I don't speak the way I record, and you guys can hear that as I speak to you, and then suddenly I'm recording. Not sure how asking for healing for a believer would contradict God's nature when it says in God's word that he will heal believers. And more than that would give believers the ability to heal anyone regardless of that person's belief status. And more. Again, it's not that God isn't answering prayers, it's that there's something wrong with you. Kind of a gross message, if you ask me.
Other times, the prayer is not that we ask incorrectly, but that we fail to see when our prayers are actually answered.
Yup, that woman dying of cancer was actually an answer for our prayer. Yup, that woman dying of cancer was actually an answer for our prayer. Was actually an answer to our prayer for healing. Sure. I've never had Adobe take over what types of files
was actually
I open images with IrfanView by default. Answer was actually an great little program. Yeah, I don't know. I've never had it do that for me. It's kind of weird. Okay, what's he talking about here?
We say that God is not listening, that our prayers have fallen on deaf ears. But maybe the problem is that we failed to even look. Maybe we failed to see what's right in front of us. How many times I've prayed for the recovery of a friend or family member, for help in a difficult time, only to forget about that prayer as soon as everything is all right.
Okay. Oh, now I get to talk about that time my son went to the hospital. That's fun. That has literally never happened to me with anything that is actually a serious illness. In any of the cases where someone in my life was healed from a serious illness, it had happened after I was an atheist. The primary example I can think of for that is when my son was hospitalized with severe bronchitis. I didn't pray for healing. I trusted in the medical staff to do the best that they could to help him heal. And they did. Notably, one of the nurses that was with him through the majority of that time was Muslim. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if she had at some point prayed to Allah for the healing of the little boy in her care, and he was healed. Does that count as points for Allah, or is it maybe just that he received top-notch medical care in a timely fashion? Notably, so that year, he was supposed to be in our town Santa Claus parade. And he missed it because he was in the hospital. He had to stay overnight. And in any of the the next year he was no longer a part of the organization. Crap. I hate okay, this is another thing that I hate about Adobe. Like this little thingy that floats around, you can't get, like, you can unpin it and take it, like you can put it over here or something but it always comes back and it always goes where you don't want it, and I have to move it every time. It's serious illness. And anyway, he wasn't with the organization that he was going to be marching in the parade with, but they let him in anyway the following year because he missed it because he was in the hospital. So that was nice of them. Okay, I'm not going to continue to harp on this point, but it is an objectively true statement that my life has gotten better since I left Christianity behind. Those two things are only slightly related. Yes, having my YouTube Those two things are only slightly related. Yes, having my YouTube channel as my job allows me a great degree of freedom that I wouldn't have had at any restaurant, but if I never started my channel, I'd still be happily serving up steaks at an overpriced steakhouse in Niagara Falls, making about the same amount of money as I'm making now, living a much better life than I ever did as a Christian. I'd still be happily serving up steaks at an overpriced steakhouse in Niagara Falls, making it really was overpriced. Like the cheapest steak on their menu is $52. Niagara Falls, and that's the last time I was there, which was like almost 2 years ago now. Those two things are only I'm not sure if I got the inflection that I want. Christianity behind. Those two things are only slightly related. Yes, having my YouTube channel as my job. Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, I used to use Reaper. Reaper is a really good program. The only reason I switched to Audition was because I started using Premiere. So it's like, as long as I'm paying for Premiere, I may as well use this other program. And like, basically the only thing that I would miss from Adobe, if I went back to Reaper, is this thing. But like I said, that like this spectral audio thingy, whatever it's called, is so incredibly helpful to me and has made my editing of audio so much better that it's worth it dealing with this stupid little floaty box that, oh, look, it came back up here. Even like you guys saw that, right? I moved it over here and it popped back up. This isn't about reopening the program. It just comes back. And so I don't know what to do. And, like it usually stays if you put it up here, but then if you put it in the wrong spot where you need to like move a selection thing around, then you end up turning all your volume down or cranking it up. I don't know what to do with that thing. There's probably a way to get rid of it, but I have to figure that out. And I'm never thinking about it when it's not actively annoying me, and the only time it's actively annoying me is when I'm recording and not looking for how to get rid of it. Okay, I don't know what oh shit, I closed the video.
Ask and it will be given to you.
Nope. Continue from where
God answered my prayer exactly how I asked, but I never even God was with me. If you've ever used a walkie-talkie, you know that in order to speak, you have to press down the button. And to listen, you have to let the button go.
Unless, of course, it's a movie and you need someone to hear the other side of that conversation for plot reasons. It's like, I'm thinking, like, my favorite scene in Stranger Things is when Dustin and Susie are singing The Never-Ending Story together, but that's not possible with the equipment that they're using, because as he's holding the button down and Susie's holding the button down, they wouldn't hear each other, so they'd be completely out of sync. ADH Dobie. The beefy atheist shill checks. Okay, so I think I've mentioned this on stream before, but I actually bought 1 share of Pfizer, and I'm waiting for them to pay out the dividend of like 1 penny after the 4 months. Like I think they pay out quarterly, just so that I can like take a screenshot of that and then be like, oh, look, the people that accused me of being a big pharma shill when I made my vaccine video were right. I'm on Pfizer's payroll. And yeah, that's a long game there, because apparently I didn't know when the payouts were, so I bought the share like apparently like right after they had paid out, so I got to wait the full 4 months. I think it should be coming soon. It's been a while. 58.
Sometimes we never let the button go. We talk and talk and talk, waiting for an answer, but it never comes. God could be on the other end.
Okay, yeah. And this all-powerful being is apparently not strong enough to get around this human limitation? For which I'm sure the excuse will be something along the lines of, why would we expect God to force us to listen to him when we're not willing? When the fact of the matter is that the people in the situations described here would be more than willing to listen, if only he'd actually speak up a bit. Described here would be more than willing to listen. Because the all-powerful creator of the universe is limited by the time dimension that he supposedly exists outside of. Right. I'm skipping the next little bit. It's just him explaining that he prayed to God for guidance, and it took him a while in between praying for guidance and ending up deciding to be a Franciscan monk. Which, if you ask me, is a bad decision. Why would you waste your life being a monk? Verse is limited by the time. Aw, thanks. Thank you, Sparkling Girl. 603, skip 551. This is where if you stick around for me editing the actual video portion of this, I insert the audio files backwards, like from the end back to the beginning, and these little SK, the skip. That's how I remind myself to skip to that time code or whatever. And so by going backwards, I'm not messing up the time of my file names. Because if you go forward, then suddenly 6 minutes is no longer 6 minutes, and one of my videos is likely to be about 30 minutes. Again, this video is directed at Christians, but as an atheist, I hear this and think, so without those struggles, you wouldn't be wasting your life in service to a deity that apparently does not exist, and to an organization that regularly covers up crimes like child rape? So I feel like a different path would have been better for you. Apparently, I thought I forgot to mention that. I thought being a Franciscan monk was a waste of his life. But apparently I didn't. It's like, yeah, you dedicate your life to an organization that covers up child rape. I have the moral high ground. Apparently does not exist, and to an organization. 659, skip 654. Again, though, to bring it back around to the opening Bible verse, God says that he will answer your prayers, and he does not put all the... And he doesn't put all the conditions on them that you are. Those are entirely post hoc rationalizations designed to make you remember the hits and forget the misses, because the misses were your own fault for not asking God for what God was going to do anyway. Because the misses were your own fault for not asking God. Okay, that's probably the roughest cut in this one so far, and that wasn't bad. And he does not put your prayers, and he doesn't put all the okay, there we go.
my prayers. So yeah, sometimes we ask wrong. Sometimes we can't see what's right before us. But other times, honestly, I think most of the time, the reason that we feel that God has abandoned us and locked the door is because we have a fundamentally skewed understanding of what prayer is.
Prayer is something that doesn't make sense in a universe with an all-knowing God. Okay. Glad I listened. I definitely would have inflected that wrong if I hadn't listened first. Prayer is something that doesn't make sense in a universe with an all-knowing, all-powerful God who wants what is best for you. Because in such a world, God already knows what is best for you, and since he wants that and has the ability to make that happen, then that's exactly what he will do. Prayer is basically an admission that God is the kind of jerk who wants you to beg him to do the thing that he was going to do anyway. Thy will be done. God will do his will, no matter what, but he wants to hear you beg him for it anyway. But he still wants to hear you beg him for it. But he wants... Boop. God will do was going to do anyway. Thy will be done. Smug Monk TM. Yeah, you recognize the voice. No, he didn't start this one with the pretentious sit down, dust off, straighten the sleeves. Oh, it drives me so nuts. I spent too much time on that on my last video on him. 16, 7, 20.
So often we approach God as if God were an all-powerful genie.
You laughing at my little squiggles? Yeah, it's the grammar check doesn't like my lowercase God, but God's not his name. God's a title, so I don't capitalize it. And I actually this is the only time anybody ever sees my script. This is just for me. It doesn't matter. But I actually go out of my way to make sure everything is like properly punctuated and everything. It's just, I don't know. It's just how I roll. And now I forget. Go back.
There is. So often we approach God as if God were an all-powerful genie.
Okay, yeah. Well, that is how he presents himself in the verses where he says that he'll do anything we ask through prayer, like the one you opened this video with. Yep, here we go. God will only grant a prayer if you pray for what God already wanted to do anyway. Sorry, but that makes God look like more of a mob boss than an all-loving being in my mind. Yeah, it's only backwards in the sense that prayer is an exercise in futility to begin with, given that God is going to do his will whether or not you pray for it.
This prayer, by its very nature, is not about convincing God to be more like us, but allowing God to transform us to be more like God.
Yeah. So, to mess with our free will? I don't understand how this works in the framework that you've already laid out. Skip to 8 minutes. I don't remember what I skipped there. I think he probably just repeats himself a bit.
Fully. What we often misunderstand about prayer is that it's not about letting God do everything for us while we check out.
No, that's right. When God answers your prayers, it's through your own actions. So you answer your own prayers, and if your prayers go unanswered, that's also your fault. Almost as though God is superfluous in this whole thing. You do it yourself, or it doesn't get done. And if you do it yourself, that was God. If it doesn't get done, that's your fault for not asking right. What a toxic worldview.
It's about receiving grace that can work through us. All throughout human history, God has used his servants and prophets to perform miracles. What made the prophets great was not that they were amazing speakers or had power within themselves. It was that they were so close to God in prayer that they knew what needed to be done.
Which, alarmingly frequently, was the genocide of another culture, whether that had to be the Philistines, the Canaanites, the Amalekites, or any of the myriad of other genocides that God condones or commands in the Bible through his prophets. This message is so goddamn toxic. You're not good enough for God to answer your prayers. You're too selfish, asking for things that are against God's nature. You're too lazy, not doing what God requires of you in order to get what he promised would come through prayer. It's all you. God can do no wrong, even when he acts in a way that is explicitly contradicted by how the Bible says he will act. God can do no wrong, even when he acts in a way that is explicitly contradicted by how the Bible says he will act. It's just gross. God can do no... Yeah, I know, pretty much definitionally God can't do wrong because he is the source of right and wrong, so bleh. You. God can... But that's a cop-out, so... Dun, dun, dun. 59... Because, no, there we go again. That's only happened twice so far. That's good. That's good. Because, heaven forbid we actually feel good about ourselves ever. Got to get that Catholic guilt in there somehow.
Building up the kingdom. As long as we view prayer as a means of one-way communication, where all we're concerned with is trying to convince God to do things for us, we're going to ask for the wrong things.
That's not what the Bible says. Maybe that is what some ancient theologian says that they... Oh, shit. I accidentally hit the spacebar and it stopped recording. Yeah, that's not what the Bible says. Maybe that is what some ancient theologian says that they think the Bible means when it says other things, but it's not what the Bible actually says. Gotta throw that in there for the Catholics, because they love them some ancient theologians.
We are going to fail to see God's work right in front of us, and we are most certainly going to miss opportunities for God to answer prayer through us.
As long as the call for help was made appropriately, and you work toward and were successful at solving your own problems without prayer to begin with. Conditionally true. What the fuck did I mean by that?
Ask and it will be given to you. On the day I called for help, you answered me.
Oh, I feel like my timestamps are off. Oh, no. Oh, no, I skipped a line. That's what happened. As long as you ask for the right things in the right way. Okay, now that I know that that's supposed to... As long as the call for help was made. Okay, no, that's fine, that's fine. I won't redo that one.
I believe these things to be true with all my heart.
Conditionally true, maybe. Watching this while servicing a system at an assembly of God, regularly watching the evil atheists at churches. Nice.
God does answer our prayers, but I do not believe that God is simply going to do everything for us exactly as we want when we want it. If that is how we view prayer, then yes, unfortunately, we're going to feel that God doesn't answer our prayers from time to time.
I mean, that is how the Bible views prayer, but even so, even if we set that aside, God doesn't answer prayers any more reliably than random chance does, which then gives us no reason to think that God answers prayers to begin with. Which then gives here we go.
And that would be a shame. If you're feeling distraught because of unanswered prayers, wondering where God is in a time of great need, it might be an opportunity to change your mindset.
Yeah, it would. The best change, in my opinion, would be to stop relying on an unreliable God, and do what you can to change your circumstances yourself. Of course, this is not always possible, but when it is possible, it's more empowering to stop thinking that a magical being will solve your problems for you, and work towards solving them for yourself. And as Casey has essentially said in this video, that's basically where God is going to leave you anyway, so you may as well act as though God doesn't exist, because God certainly acts that way. The waveform looks weird there. Sometimes it does that.
Prayer is not about making God more like us. It's about making us more like God. Ask for that, and your prayer will always be answered.
Okay. Sorry about the thunks every time I put that down, but it's right beside where my microphone is hanging from. It is what it is. Be the God of your own life, as apologists so often accuse atheists of doing anyway. It'll have the same result in the end. That's it for this one. Today's comment of the day comes to us from Fook Yu, who says, minor nitpick, but persons don't get pregnant. Females get pregnant. This is a rather absolute in nature of mammals. Well, without getting into the details of just how complicated biological sex is, which, if you're interested, I'd recommend reading Dr. Stephen Novella's article on the science of biological sex, linked down below, but without getting into that, the only reason to point out that females are the ones who get pregnant in response to me using the phrase pregnant people is if you don't consider females to be people, which I do. So pregnant people is accurate, and there's really no good reason to object to that kind of inclusive language. I actually find it kind of amusing that the people who getting into that, the people who claim that we're trying to erase women and make it harder to say women are often the people who, instead of saying women, will say females. And it just sounds derogatory. But that's another topic. But yeah, if you object to the phrase pregnant people because you think that erases women, then what that says is you don't consider women to be people, because people includes women. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Tim Robertson for being my Patreon manager. Thanks to this week's PayPal heroes Eric and Janice. And special thanks as always to my patrons, who are the prayers that are ignored by the God that is my channel. If you'd like your prayers to be answered with about the same effectiveness of random chance, you can join us on Patreon for as little as $1 per week over at patreon.com/, you know what? I'm going to redo that. If you'd like your prayers to be answered with about the same effectiveness as praying to a milk jug, you can join us on Patreon for as little as $1 per week over at patreon.com/ViceRhino, or by supporting the channel in one of the other methods that can be found at links.vicerhino.com, which is also where you'll find links to my other projects. If for whatever reason you want to send me stuff, my P.O. Box address is in the description. See you next time! Audio recording done. If you'd like your prayers, okay. Okay, yeah, correct folder. Okay. Oh, you guys didn't see that dialog box. I used to process them in here, like I'd apply my noise canceling and effects and everything, but Premiere recently started, let's see, switch over to Premiere, which, where'd it go? Premiere recently started including audio essentials, or I think essential audio or whatever, which is basically did the same things that I did to it in Audition, not necessarily in as good a way, but the differences are minor enough that it doesn't matter. Oh, no, I already have. All right, what should I call this one? If you answer your own prayers, that was God. I'm not good at naming things. Oh, you guys are talking about Vadim and Creationist Cat. All right. It's been a while since I've watched anything by Creationist Cat. All right, that's so you'll see me doing things. You might have noticed it with Audition a little bit, but I actually have a bunch of auto hotkey scripts running where it allows me to make better shortcuts for myself. And so, like, for example, there I just created my standard directory structure without having to actually do it, because it's the same thing every time. So I just press Control 4 on the number pad, and it just automatically runs through that. AutoHotkey is a great little program. I love it. Love it. Okay, now switch to my audio editing view. So now, before I do anything, I have to trim off the beginning. Hello! That! And the end of every track. Normally I leave a little bit of space here, but with the opening and closing ones, I don't, because that goes straight to my intro music. But this is yep, the most tedious portion of the job, which I will this is where you'll often find me on Twitter instead of doing this, because it's just so boring. If you ask me, it's not hard. It's really easy. I do here. It's really quick, but for whatever reason, yes, they're much stronger. I just hate it. So now you guys are here to keep me company and keep me on task. See, that would work, right? Yup. Bring us. Look, we were talking about Mandelbrats earlier. This little guy here looks kind of like a Mandelbrot bug, a little bit. Meaning you knock. Well, the Bible. hedging with the mysterious. Where does the "Hello, Sweetie" come from? So, the best way possible. Watch Doctor Who, and the Doctor's wife, River Song. Yeah, it's being met. Whenever she shows up in an episode, she always opens with "Hello, Sweetie," which that's like her opening line. And so that's also the person who's in all the fan art that I do. I used to just use pictures of Alex Kingston, or Kensington or Kingston. I don't remember. But I used to use actual shots from her as River Song in the show with the caption "Hello, Sweetie." But people started doing fan art, and I would rotate through them, and I threw the fan arts in periodically, and eventually I got enough of them that it was just like. Again, I was finding myself as I was going through the rotation getting excited when I was getting close to using one of the fan art ones. Yep. And when I got enough that I had, I could just do a rotation of nothing but fan arts. Timely fashion. I get excited to use the fan arts, so why would I not just use the fan arts? Okay. As a Christian, I love fan art. Like when people put in the effort to do artwork related to my channel, that's just up a bit. I love it. It's just it's like because a huge compliment. Franciscan monk. But yeah, that's where it comes from. Why I started using it, I don't know. Again, better for you. I think it was just kind of like it was a branding thing. Like I know being easily recognizable is like having a recognizable brand and things that you do consistently are important. So prayer. I just started opening my videos with that. I think it was my second video is where I started doing that. I don't think my first video did that. And I've done it ever since. Yep. Loving being in my mind. Yeah, it's pray for it. So laid out. This part being the editing this stuff. I'm probably doing it a little faster just because I'm here with an audience, so if I suddenly pop onto Twitter and I'm not working for a bit, his profits. That's not much of a show. So you guys are keeping me on task, so this is going faster than normal. This mess gross. But yeah, because somehow this is the part that I normally avoid. Yeah, okay, there we go. My 5-year-old son has to be told repeatedly to finish brushing his teeth, get out of the tub, etc. I use the voice recorder on my phone to save my vocal cords. Oh, that's a good idea. I used to do that, as kind of a joke when I had similar issues. I found it really upset him, though, so I stopped. As long begin with. But yeah, I still have issues with the teeth brushing. Oh shit, I think I forgot to get them to brush their teeth this morning. God damn it. Conditionally. I mean, begin with. I mean, I've been waking up at 6 a.m. to get them to the camp this week, that way. And this is the first week of the summer, since summer vacation began, where I've had to get up that early. Of language. Because their camp is like a 45-minute drive away. And thanks for watching. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of annoying, so I'm still kind of getting used to that. Nope, wrong button. There we go. All right, so that part's done. Now, import the videos that I'm going to use. Make sure this is in 1080p. Put it up there. Make them small. Play Father Retort number 6. You have summers in Canuckia? Yeah, it actually has been unseasonably hot this summer. It's been very rare where I have not had a heat advisory on my phone. Let's see. God. So if I title my timeline, that makes it easier. All right. And this is actually, like, you guys can't see the keyboard, but like they're not like powerful shortcuts, but they're like shortcut. Like I like to make things efficient. So like if there's a shortcut I need to press all the time, I'd rather have that assigned to a macro button. So like this is why I have my keyboard, which is being cut out because it's apparently part of the background, with all these macro buttons. And like it's nice because sometimes it's just a macro, other times it's like it'll be a shortcut that calls an auto hotkey script, and they're just like little tiny differences that save me like a fraction of a second each time I use them, but over the years those fractions of seconds adds up. Okay.
And your prayer will always be answered.
That's right. Insert that. I always go a couple seconds before because the timestamps are not always correct. Sometimes they're off by like a second. That kind of inclusive language. Thanks for watching. Especially like if it's a longer video, sometimes I'll watch it on 1.5 speed while I'm doing my script. And VLC, when you watch it on 1.5 speed, when you pause it, the timestamp is going to be off by a little bit, and it's not consistent and it's annoying. So I always go like 2 seconds before when I think I need to put the thing in.
An opportunity to change your mindset. Prayer.
Also, you got to look out for hard cuts because it looks really awkward if I put something in and then as soon as it comes, like if there was a hard cut like right here, that would look really awkward. So I would insert the clip there instead, so that it kind of hides the hard cut.
That God doesn't answer our prayers from time to time.
And sometimes people get all artsy with their cuts, and so they're like, it's standard practice. Like if you're going to do a cut to different scenery or whatever, you usually do have the audio from whatever you're cutting to come in a little bit early, or you fade your audio out a little late, so it's not a clean cut for me. That makes my life a little bit more annoying, but it's what you're supposed to do in film, I think. Yeah, Paul loves to complain about Canada's freezing cold. Paul also does not have a workflow that's anything even close to resembling what I do, I don't think.
I believe these things to be true with all my heart. God.
Okay, no cut there.
On the day I called for help, you answered me. Answer prayer through us.
See, that one's got a cut.
Ask and it will be given to you.
Except, I think, as long as you ask for the right. Okay, no, see, there we go. I have this one labeled as 920, but I don't put it until like 921.
It will be given to you. On the day. We're going to ask for the wrong things. We are to be done to do our part in building up the kingdom.
There's a cut. So right there's a hard cut. He stays pretty still, so with him it's not as noticeable, but there are some people that it's really, really awkward.
Up the kingdom.
Because, heaven forbid we actually feel good about ourselves. Yeah, cinematic cuts and jump cuts. I think I've probably seen that one. Oh, that's adorable. That's great. Watching a TV show, and when you asked him to come do something he didn't want to do, all the characters on the show started chanting, "Do it." That's amazing. What do I use to download YouTube videos? I use 4K Video Downloader. There's a free version. I've paid for the pro version because I use it so often. I may as well throw them some money, right? Like the free version's great, and it works fine.
Given us and put it towards what we hope for.
But like, I'm literally using their product to make money, so I should give them money for their product. Also, you're not supposed to use it for commercial purposes unless you pay them. So, for legal purposes, I also paid them.
Prayer that they knew what needed to be done. Letting God do everything for us while we check out.
And that's where I skipped to.
He can be changed and made more holy.
Love that face. That's a great pause face. I think I took a screenshot of that and it's in my thumbnails folder, so I might use it. His video is very dark, so I'm probably going to have to brighten it up a little bit before I...
Allowing God to transform us to be more like God.
Delete that. And that's how I skip things. 749, 739.
Something truly backwards about this?
Yeah, there's the cut.
Form God's will to be more like our own. God as if God were an all-powerful genie. We come skewed understanding of what prayer is. So we jump right to God doesn't answer my prayers. So yeah. So yeah.
Sometimes there.
Prayers.
Again, though, it's a little bit close. Like there's a little bit of noise on the first frame. So I check to make sure that it's anyway.
So yeah,
I check to make sure that it's actually like intelligible when it comes back in, because sometimes I need to like just kind of shift it over a little.
And in my life, we don't always see that.
We're skipping here.
No, when things don't.
Oh yeah, and so this.
See that. No, when things don't go as we want.
He had music playing through this whole thing that I actually had to remove. Well, I don't have to remove it, but my experience with people catching me with copyright violations or whatever, where they start to take my ad revenue and send it back to them, like it's not a copyright strike. They just collect money that my channel makes and keep it for themselves. When I'm using their stuff under fair use.
Or become a Franciscan or priest.
It's just easier to avoid getting caught in the first place than to go through the appeal process. So it's standard procedure now. I remove the music using, NVIDIA Broadcast. If you have an RTX graphics card, it's like an AI software that'll remove noise from something. And so it's a bit finicky to actually get it to do it. Like the way I have to do it is like I route the audio through my little interface thingy here, and then I have to tell Adobe to record the audio from Broadcast instead of from here. But it gets the job done, and it does a pretty good job.
But of course, this wasn't the case.
The case for Christ?
Looking back, I can on it, and it's just not done yet.
That's also why I keep them small in the corner here, so that it's not the full, like when it's full frame, that's also easier for the copyright bots to catch it.
As we refuse to listen, we'll never know it. Listen, you have to let the button go.
Let the button go. There's a clitoris joke in there somewhere, but I'm not thinking of it. I can't find the clitoris joke in there. There we go. I found it. Gregorian Chants of the Beach Boys. I don't know. I think it was just, if I remember right, it was just like some like random royalty-free track or whatever. Like here, I have the...
Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. Situation, and there are times, even as a priest, that I struggle with this question myself.
That's the
Faith
music.
doesn't remove this question, but I do think it offers.
Like that's probably the kind of music that you're safe to use on YouTube. It's like one of those things where like you're free to use it as long as you credit the person or whatever. So it's probably fine. I probably will not get caught if I left it in, but just to be safe, I take it out. It's like, why not?
And I never even made the connection that it was because God was with me.
I'll also use this opportunity where, like, if there's like a little bump on the waveform right here, that's often like a lip smack that their microphone picked up. It's not in this case. Calvin Smith of AIG is really bad for that. He'll put his face like right up to his microphone, like, and it's disgusting. I hate listening to it. So when I'm editing his videos, I try to edit as many of those out as I can. I don't know why I do so many videos on the guy. He's so painful to listen to because I mouth noises just drive me nuts.
Only to forget about that prayer as soon as everything is all right.
Oh, that smug look on his face.
See when our prayers are actually answered.
4, 355.
God, your prayer is going to go unanswered. Answered.
This guy's got a few good pause faces. You could, I assume you mean couldn't hold back the laughs from the button joke? If Mike BJ's are his fetish, don't shame him for it. Yeah, no, that's fine. If you want to give your mic a BJ and like listen to it for ASMR or whatever, go for it. Just don't make it part of your non-that videos.
Contradicts the very nature of God. God building the kingdom and leading to salvation?
See, like right there, that's a jump cut. But you can barely tell it because he doesn't move. Like if his facial expression didn't change, I'm not sure I would have picked that out.
And so God couldn't answer my prayer as I wanted. My life, and I was absolutely devastated. Sometimes we simply ask for the wrong things. I'll give you things.
Which
There can be a flaw in our prayers. Sometimes as a priest that I struggle with this question myself.
Yeah, if there's a hell, making me edit mouth noises would be would take care of that, I'm sure. Might start a channel like what, mouth or like microphone blowjobs? Sure. I figured you meant couldn't. And rule 34 of video editing, I guess. Calvin Smith microphone blowjob porn. Okay, where am I? 223, 212.
With our experience
That's
of
when
being
water
turned away.
boils, if you're Fahrenheit.
Now
8.
What I asked for never came.
You know what else never came? No, I'm not going to finish that joke. With him being a priest, that's going to go to very dark places very quickly. Oh.
Desperate need and heard nothing.
All right, this is where I see, because I have it named there, I can now go back here and put it in. I think I already cut this to what I need.
In gratitude, I present you this offering of cookies and milk. If you want me to eat them for you, give me no sign. That will be done.
Yeah, that's already cut. I already cut it. And then that doesn't need as much of a gap there. Instead of just ignoring us.
In gratitude.
There we go. Back to audio, 130.
Our own of how God answered our prayers, we can. I called for help. You answered me. 3/4 of my expenses, just like that.
Didn't come just like Jesus the second time, sure.
Until God intervened with his saving hand.
What would you say you do here? And that is where I get office space. There we go.
What would you say? What would you say you do here?
Now, for some reason, this, when you mark the in and out points, it's not exact with the, like whatever frame you mark it on. So I always have to edit it a little bit after doing that, because I don't need that. Because like that'll look really awkward when you like you just play it.
When I was in high school,
it's just a little flash of a frame that we don't need. But I do need that face, because that's the whole point of, like, that's priceless. And then I think
What
at the beginning, yeah, right there. Say you do here.
What would you say you do here?
And I gotta make it little as well. That was 720p, so scaled to 90. It's approximately the same.
when I was in high
Hi, boys. Hi, Spare Vlogs. Oh, no, it's not boys, it's boss. See, the way you spelled hi with the H-A-I made me interpolate the A-I onto the end of B-O, so it was boys. So, yeah.
for us, that he answers our prayers.
121.
And so seek out God, and he will be with you. These and to the one who knocks, the door will be opened.
Okay, heard some mouth noises in there that can go to hell.
These
Not as bad as Calvin.
These are the words of Jesus in Matthew's Gospel. The door will be opened.
Yep. And to Yeah, I dropped that in like right in the middle of the mouth noises.
Opened.
Yep. And to preempt the inevitable argument that God always answers prayer, but sometimes the answer is no, or the my local time right now it is about noon. 12:06 to be exact. I'm Eastern daylight time, standard time, I don't know, Eastern time. I think we should ditch time zones and just go by UTC. Because, like, time is kind of, it's kind of arbitrary. Like, yeah, we eat lunch around noon, so I'm used to eating lunch when it's 12 o'clock, but it's like, it's the time of day. It doesn't matter what the clock says. So, like, I think right now in UTC it's 4 o'clock. I actually use UTC semi-regularly. Yeah, it's about 4:08 UTC. So if I eat lunch at 4 o'clock instead of 12 o'clock, I don't care. But that'll make coordinating shit with international people a lot easier. There'll no longer be like, oh, hey, let's get together at 8:30. I'm like, well, is that 8:30 your time or my time? Oh, well, what time zone are you? I'm this time. What time zone are you? I'm Eastern. I meant 4:30 my time, so I think that would be the... Like, I've been an hour off to appointments that I've had with people specifically because of that sort of thing. Okay, so now I start adding my own crap. Yeah, man. There we are. Oh, so it's the Hello Sweetie from Pumpkin J is the one for this week. Okay, this is an issue I have with my network attached storage. Is I got it? It's all hard drives, so I got to wait for the drives to spin up before I can do stuff. Come on, close. Fair use disclaimer. I don't think I've changed that in the entire time I've had this channel. Hello and welcome to my channel. Vice Trump. Okay, and then so why don't we just hold down G3. There we go. Boom. Put the opening music here, which I have to check. There's a couple people that have done a couple different things for me. So before I tell you lies, I want to make sure I tell you the right one. Okay, that's today's video. Intro outro was by The Storm Cometh, which that is a YouTube channel. It's got 1.18. Got almost 1,200 subscribers. He does some videography sort of stuff. And he designed my intro outro thing for me. Even in the USA, Vadim, there are 4 time zones, I think. 5 if you include Hawaii. 4 with Alaska, 5 with Hawaii, I think. So, yeah. It can be annoying with even just with US people. Yeah, at the very least, just stick to the special names, or ditch the special names for the time zones and stick to GMT plus or minus X. Yeah, if we're doing that, I would appreciate it if we could ditch daylight savings time as well, because I know I'm GMT minus 4, but some of the year I'm GMT minus 5, I think. I don't know. It's annoying. All right. Now, oh, wait. No, you know what? Get rid of that for a second. I forgot to do my audio stuff. This is where go to essential sound, label it all as dialogue. This is where you match the loudness. This is using LUFS rather than decibels. LUFS is supposed to account for the relative, like, you know, like something that is quiet can sound loud if it's surrounded by other stuff that's really, really quiet. So this kind of takes that into account, and so it automatically matches it to about 19 or negative 19 LUFS, which is that's the volume my videos are usually at, and most people find that to be acceptable. And then my actual music, if I were to hit match here, minus 31 is what it detected it as before, and it puts it as minus 25, but minus 31 is fine. I just leave the music alone. And then just select my tracks and reduce noise by 1.5 is usually what I use. That's usually fine. Oh, you know what? I'm supposed to be walking on my treadmill. You guys made me forget. There's a cat on the treadmill. Let's see what happens when I turn it on. Oh, she actually like I've done that to her before. She normally just jumps off right away, but she actually like stayed sitting on it until it got to the end. But I actually find that being on the treadmill helps me concentrate because I'm a very fidgety person. And so if I'm walking, I'm not fidgeting. So I can just work. And so, yeah, it's going to be a little bit annoying for you guys to watch me bouncing around from side to side like this, but whatever. Also, I need to turn my fan on now, too. So there's going to be a lot of noise for you guys now. Sorry. It's not too bad, though. This microphone's pretty good at not picking up too much extra crap. Oh, and this is where my little Chiron comes from. And I actually have the Chiron set up so that if I don't do anything to it, it just says, if you see this, I screwed up. Because I figure that's kind of funny, and sometimes I forget to change it. Let's see. Oh, sometimes I spend too much time thinking about this. It's just a silly little thing that almost nobody reads anyway. Treadmill is just a fidget spinner for your feet. Indeed. Don't forget to leave a like. Why would you like this video? Most boring stream ever. Oh, what should my title be for this one? I think I've already used Pray to Me. And I think I used that one in a video where I actually used a clip of Batman saying, "Pray to me," or whatever. Is that the reason why they should like the stream? Because I'm Canadian? Because I am Canadian. Oh, dun-dun-dun-dun. There. I'm Canadian, so pray to my milk bags, not my milk jugs, even though I say jugs later on in the thing. We literally, and that's, apparently this is weird to most of the world, but we literally get our milk in bags. You get 4 liters of milk in 3 little bags. You put them in a little container, snip the corner off, and pour your milk. And it's the kind of plastic that in most places is not recyclable, but where I am it is. So it's not the actual plastic jugs. If you live in an area where you can't recycle the flimsy plastic bag stuff, the jugs are probably better for the environment because you can recycle them. But I think the flimsy plastic is more of it actually gets recycled. I'm not sure about that. I might be wrong. It might be terrible for the environment and you should just get cartons or something. Glass jars. What happened to milk in glass jars? Pop in glass jars. Big oil's what happened. Last time we saw him, he was condescendingly suggesting that an atheist isn't good at being an atheist unless they've read up. Okay, let's go here. Today, we're looking at a video put out by okay, so this is where I'm going to want to start using images. Sorry, I'm just setting up my second monitor. You guys can't see it. Let's see. Let's use that one. Sorry, I'm just looking at the screenshots I've taken of the guy where I'm considering which one to use as the thumbnail. And so I'm deciding the one that I'm not going to use as a thumbnail is going here. And Father Casey. Father Casey of Breaking in the Habit. Last time. A habit. Last time we saw him, he was condescendingly suggesting that an atheist isn't good at being... Okay, that's where... Sorry, you guys can't see what I'm doing mostly, so... Like when I'm looking for pictures and stuff. So this is where I'm going to put a card to my last video. So it's good to have the thumbnail. Suggesting that an atheist... Time we saw him... And then I need to make a note in my script, because I keep the sources that I use at the bottom of the script, and then I just copy them out. So if I also keep a note to where I want to leave links, that's where I do that. Helps if I actually have the link, though. Dun, dun. Time-wasting priest doesn't want to waste your time. Do any of y'all click on the cards when I show them? YouTube tells me that YouTube tells me that it helps with reach or whatever. Vice Verano Truman Show edition. Yeah, that's the one. How fast am I walking? 3 kilometers per hour is how fast I go. It's not terribly fast. Like, it's slow enough that I can still work, but it's fast enough that it keeps me occupied. But yeah, YouTube tells me that thumbs are, cards. The picture that's up is titled Thumb down here, so I looked at that when I said that. Okay, stop with the W or I'm going to put you in timeout. But yeah, he was condescendingly suggesting that an atheist isn't good at being an atheist unless they've read a bunch of atheist philosophy and the works of several Catholic theologians. And if that's the bar for being a good atheist, then it should apply to all the other religions as well, right? So it's actually physically impossible to be a good atheist in that way, as that would require spending your entire life doing nothing but reading the works of theologians from all of the world's religions. Of course, he didn't even consider the existence of other religions. Obviously, the only options are atheist or Catholic. So in this video, he purports to explain why God doesn't answer prayer. So let's take a look at that.
Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. For everyone who seeks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks the door will be opened.
Yep. Yeah, I edit my videos well on double speed, basically. It's just I hate listening to myself. So the quicker I can get it done with, the better. I actually watched The Truman Show yesterday, and I realized that the entire third act of the film was unnecessary. He could have just said the N-word, and his show would have been canceled automatically. Yeah, that would have done it, I think. Okay, thank you for stopping with the W. Or, okay, you're not stopping with the W. Come on, guy. Come on. And to preempt the inevitable argument that God always answers prayer, but sometimes the answer is no, or you asked for the wrong thing, or whatever other excuse, that verse doesn't say, ask for the right thing and it will be given to you. Seek and you shall find, as long as you're seeking something that God wants you to seek. Knock and the door will be open to you, unless you're there for something that God doesn't want to give you. It stated unconditionally, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened. Of course, being Catholic, you would probably not approve of my overly simplistic way of looking at this. Catholics are not tied to a literal interpretation of the Bible as many evangelicals are, but this does add to the case against God in my mind, as the Bible is very adamant that God always keeps his promises, and this very much reads as one of God's promises, even if you can find the interpretational wiggle room to get away from what this verse is actually saying.
These are the words of Jesus in Matthew's Gospel. Encouraging words of God's care for us, inspiring words of the power of prayer. There is nothing beyond God's grasp, and so seek out God, and he will be with you.
I mean, Jesus literally prayed that God take the... This is where I go get screenshots of Bible verses. That's fun. Luke 22:42 ESV. Let's see, is Luke the one we want? No, I want the one where it actually says all things are possible. I think that might be Mark. Well, let's try Matthew. Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you. Yeah, no, it would be Mark. Where's that Mark? 14. 14, 30. Yeah, 35 to 38. Let's see. Okay, you know what? Thirty-six is the only verse I need from that. I'm sorry, I know this is boring for you when you can't even see what I'm doing. Dun, dun, dun. I don't think this treadmill is smart enough to link the speed to the super chats. I guess I could speed it up manually, but I think it only goes up to 5 kilometers an hour. So that would get boring in a hurry. And it doesn't give you fine control. Like it goes up by half a kilometer an hour every time. Jesus. So. Yoink. Literally prayed that God take the cup away from him, meaning that he did not want to be crucified. Jesus is supposed to be God, so is this God saying, hey, me? Yeah, I don't want to do that thing anymore, and all things are possible for me, so maybe don't make me do it. And yet God did not answer his own prayer. Same goes for that verse where Jesus prays for unity among his disciples, and all that come to believe through them. We can see that there was theological... I already have that verse. Same goes for that verse where Jesus prays for unity among his disciples, and all that come to believe through them. We can see that there was theological disagreement among Christians beginning, and all that come to believe through them. Oh, I thought I already took that down. Sorry. We can see that there was theological disagreement among Christians beginning before even the earliest Christian writings. In fact, most of Paul's writings were him disagreeing with what other Christians were teaching, including Peter, the direct disciple of Jesus, on whom Jesus said he would build his church. And yet... do I have that? Yes, I do. Actually, I posted about this on Twitter. Of Jesus. Where Jesus said he was going to build his church on Peter, using Peter as the rock and foundation. But he ended up building his church on Paul. The direct disciple of Jesus, on whom Jesus said he would build his church. And for the first time in my life, I actually saw Christians arguing that that's not what this verse means. It doesn't mean that he's going to build the church on Peter. That was mind-blowing to me, because I went to church for 25, 30 years of my life. Maybe a little less than that. 28 years. Hello, kitty. And I had always heard this verse talking about, interpreted in a way where it's like, oh, I'm going to build my church on Peter. Peter is the rock. And the whole lesson was supposed to be like, well, Peter's this wishy-washy guy who denies Jesus when push comes to shove. And so that's the question, why would Jesus say that he was going to build his church on this guy who he knew would deny him? And there were whole lessons around that whole concept. So when I suggested that, like, oh, the church didn't get built on Peter, so Jesus was wrong when he said this, suddenly everybody's like, oh no, that's not what Jesus is saying there, because Christ is the rock. It says in 1 Corinthians 10 that Christ is the rock. It's like, yeah, but the point I was making was that Paul is the one who wrote the foundational documents, and Paul is the one who wrote 1 Corinthians. So Paul contradicting what Jesus says when Jesus says he's going to build the church on Peter seems, I don't know, that seems post hoc to me. Post hoc rationalization. I'm sorry that you guys can't see the kitty very well. Yeah. No, I can't. I was going to try and pick her up, and I'm like, no, I'm going to fall if I try that, so I'm not going to do that. She is stabbing my hand with her
that he would build his church. And
so
yet, we don't have a single writing from Peter, and the earliest Christian writings were from Paul's sect, which disagreed with Peter on a number of issues. And Paul ended up being the foundation of the church, not Peter. So I guess Jesus was wrong when he said that Peter would be that foundation, and he was wrong when he prayed for unity among his followers.
These things shouldn't come as a surprise to us. As Christians, we know, of course, that God loves and cares for us, that he answers our prayers.
I don't know, man. I was a Christian for a long time, and I can't think of a single instance of him answering my...
There we go. Got her. Hey, kitty. This is really awkward. You're on my headphone cord. Oh. Okay.
He promises to always answer, like a single instance of him answering my prayer in a meaningful way. Well, I can think of many times that he failed to answer my prayers, even when they were of a kind that he promises to always answer. Like for
I feel like this is going to be one where I don't put a whole lot of visual aids in. If we are made of clay, aren't we all the rock? Only if you bake it. So you got to get baked, and then you're the rock.
Again, the verses that say believers will be able to heal the sick do not specify that they will only be healed if God wills it. They just flat out say they will be healed. And yet, I attended a church with a woman who was dying of cancer, and many times had been anointed with oil and prayed over with the laying on of hands, as laid out in James chapter 5, but she still died of cancer. Of course, there are a myriad of excuses given for occurrences like this. Obviously, someone doing the praying wasn't sincere, and God will only answer the prayer if everyone involved was sincere, because he's a jerk like that. She didn't have enough faith in the healing, and healing only works if she has faith. Her death would cause a non-believer somewhere to come to God somehow, and so was used as an instrument to bring about that greater good. But none of these are actually biblical positions. The Bible promises that God will heal the sick person.
Biblical positions. Every now and then I get someone that tells me I should keep in the screenshots the book, chapter, and verse labels. But ever since Bible Gateway changed their design, there's like this huge gap in between where it says that and the actual verse that is, it looks hideous. So I leave it out. But it's like, if you don't know what verse that is, what chapter that is, or whatever, just Google it. Like, you just type in, like, right now, I'm at Google. If I type in, and these signs will accompany those who believe, hit enter, Mark 16:17. Guess what? It is Mark 16:17. So it's like, just type a bit of the text out into Google, and you'll be able to find it. I also try to make mention of which verse it is when I'm writing the script, but I don't always. The Bible promises that God will heal the sick person as long as the person doing the praying believes, and you can't tell me that there wasn't a single person in that church who sincerely believed. I know I did, but I also know that I'm likely to get no true Scotsman here because I don't believe now, so obviously my faith was never genuine to begin with, which seems like more than a bit of a cop-out if you ask me.
We get together and share how time after time something in our lives seemed hopeless until God intervened with his saving hand.
No, I really can't. Even when I was a Christian, I couldn't think of a single time when God answered my prayer in a meaningful way. And I don't mean the simple God help me find my car keys sort of prayers. I'm talking about the stories that I've always heard of someone not having enough money to make it through the month, putting their faith in God, and then suddenly a relative that they almost never speak to sends them a check for $10,000 because the Lord put it on their heart. Stories like that were commonplace, but I never saw anything like that in my own life. In fact, I became more financially stable than I had ever been before in my life, pretty much exactly when I became an atheist. That's when I had a better job just essentially drop into my lap through coincidence. Someone I knew from a previous job saw me in the parking garage where they worked as manager and emailed me to send them my resume. I was hired immediately and went from working 14-hour shifts for less than minimum wage and very unreliable tips to working 7-hour shifts at a bit over minimum wage and only dinner shifts at that, which allowed me to spend more time with my kids during the day, not to mention working on my YouTube channel that would eventually replace this job, and with tips that reliably made up the difference in the number of hours worked between the two jobs, plus enough extra that allowed us to be comfortable as long as we were careful not to overspend. When I was a believer, God never dropped such an opportunity in my lap. So it seems to me that God answers prayers in that manner at about the same rate as random chance would, which leaves me wondering, God, what would you say you do here?
What would you say you do here?
When I was in high school, I planned to go to college. I found my dream school and couldn't wait to start. There was just one problem. College is expensive. I had no way of paying for it, and there was no chance I was about to take out $200,000 worth of loans. I was stuck, and so I prayed to God, please help me. Wouldn't you know it? Right around that time, my dad got a new job that paid a little bit more than the last one. Even more than that, the job was at a local university in the same system, and so they were willing to pay tuition exchange, taking care of more than 3/4 of my expenses, just like that.
Yeah, his dad got a job because he prayed to go to college. It's not that his dad went looking for a job.
See, stories like this are a dime a dozen.
I don't know why I'm breaking in to say that when I'm literally about to say that in the friggin' thing.
Had still been a Christian and prayed for a better job while I was working in the dank cave that is the Rainforest Cafe. Then when I got that email from my former
You think I'll get sued if I use the Rainforest Cafe logo here? I'm going to use it anyway. Or maybe just a picture of the Rainforest Cafe. Maybe we can even use a picture of the actual Rainforest Cafe that I used to work at. Man, 14 hours in the Rainforest Cafe is like, it is dark. It's a cave. And they would often have me in the section at the very, very back where it was the darkest. And man, like my first week working at the restaurant where like it had windows and it had a falls view and everything, it was like I can see the sky again. My mood changed like instantly. You know, Rainforest Cafe wasn't a terrible place to work. It just wasn't really great. And all these pictures make it look way better than it is, because they're all like marketing pictures. Whatever, I'll just add a picture from the outside. Could drop badly in paint. No, I don't think I will. There we go. Rainforest Cafe. That's the actual one that I worked at. Cave that is the Rainforest. Are a dime a dozen. If I had still been a Christian and prayed for a better job while I was working in the... I actually can't believe how long I went on my channel before I recognized that like putting my images and like media and stuff like that I'm using to kind of punctuate what I'm saying off to the side is just much more visually pleasing than having it pop up and cover everything. I don't know. I got no excuse for that. Dank cave that is the Rainforest Cafe. Then when I got that email from my former coworker inviting me to send him my resume, I would have seen that as God answering my prayer, and it sounds like a powerful story. But it wasn't an answered prayer. It's just a coincidence. New job. Yes, the restaurant where I could actually see the sky again was indeed the steakhouse that I've worked at. Oops. Watching YouTube videos in 2x actually helps the creators because if total time viewed is above runtime times views, it messes with the algorithm. I'm not sure if that's accurate. I've heard this both ways. I've heard people say that watching it on double speed does this, where like it messes with the algorithm in a positive way, but I've also heard people say that like if you watch it on 2 times speed, you only get half that, because like I guess YouTube times how long you're on the video page rather than just looking at how much of the video you've watched or something, which I don't know why that would be the case. But in that case, like watching it at 2 times speed gives you less view time. I don't know. I actually don't think it affects it at all.
A thing that happens sometimes. Running into old colleagues in unexpected places is a thing that happens sometimes. Hell, for all we know, the reason that Casey's dad got a new job at the local university in the same system as the school he wanted to attend was specifically because his dad knew what school he wanted to attend and knew it would be more manageable if he got a job at a university in that system. And so he went out and through his own hard work applied for and received that job. And now you're thanking God instead of your dad. I mean, I guess it's possible that the job just fell into his lap in a similar manner as my better job did, but...
See, and there we go. We've got viewing in 2x means total time viewed is lower. I don't know why that would be. Why Why would YouTube count it that way? I don't understand how that would even happen. Like, do they not just look at how much of the video you have watched? I don't know. YouTube keeps these sorts of things very close to the chest. So any information we have on it, even from the Spiffing Brit, who does excellent work, but it is basically speculation. Like, one channel, no matter how good the work he does is, it's not enough of a sample size to figure out if that's actually what's going on or if there's something else that messed with his numbers. So yeah, YouTube just keeps their algorithm way too secret to figure this sort of stuff out.
He didn't give enough details for us to actually know that for sure, and I feel like if that were the case, then those details would be included, as that would make the argument that it was an answered prayer much stronger.
How true Psalm 138 is. On the day I called for help.
She's rubbing my DisplayPort cable with her face, and now the power cable for the monitor. Please don't. Please don't. Okay, I'll be right back. I suspect that maybe she's hungry, so I'm going to check her food dish. Save my project. Bye. Go get your food. I put the food in her dish, and she heard it, but she's not immediately going there, so unless she's just trying to figure out. I guess she didn't want to jump down the desk from that side, so she's like migrating over here. Hey, what are you doing? You want your food? Go get it. You know where it is. A little bum a shove. There you go. And off she goes to the food dish.
You answered me.
Well, on the day I called for help, he left me with crappy jobs that had me wondering if I'd have enough money to buy more toilet paper when I ran out. And also, lest this be taken this way, I am not saying that...
Oh, I can use a graphic for toilet paper. Dun, dun, dun. Me wondering if I'd have enough money to buy more toilet paper when I ran out.
And also, lest this be taken this way, I am not saying that if you become an atheist, your life will suddenly fall into place. I hope nobody would take that from my story, but I want to make that explicit. I was lucky. There was nothing special about me that made me deserve a good job more than anyone else, and not everyone will be lucky. This is exactly the kind of...
A crappy job leaves you in doubt about the toilet paper. Was that intentional? Yeah. I'm gonna say yes. Sure. It actually might have been. I often don't remember what I was thinking when I was writing my script. There have been times where, like, I start reading and I'm like, why the fuck did I say that? That doesn't make any sense. And then I get to the end and it's like, oh yeah. And other times where it still doesn't make sense at the end. I'm like, no, I gotta rewrite that one. So I might have done that intentionally, but I also might not have.
We would expect from a godless universe, but
it is the kind of thing I would do.
Especially not a God who claims to answer prayers.
How true Jesus' words are about prayer. And yet, as inspiring as stories like these are, as readily as each and every one of us could come up with a story of our own of how God answered our prayers.
See, that's called priming. This video isn't directed at atheists, it's directed at Christians who are wondering why God didn't answer their prayers, or the prayers of someone they know. So he tells a story of when God answered his prayer, and then talks about how easy it'll be for everyone to remember a time when that happened, which gets the person thinking back to a time when something coincidental happened in their life that ended up being a good thing for them, no matter how minor. And if they can't think of one right away, they will spend some time coming up with an answer that reinforces the idea that God does answer prayer, right before he goes on to explaining that, no, actually God doesn't answer prayers, at least not any better than random chance does, but you'd better attribute those random chance instances to God and not random chance, even though they happen for non-believers at pretty much the same rate, or even a better rate in some cases. Like that study that found that people who are...
Boop. Screenshot time. Stuff like that is why we're encouraged to add comments on our code in class. Yeah, I actually, so my auto hotkey scripts, they're all pretty simple, but I have comments on all of them to say what exactly they're supposed to do. Because there's something like, if one is just like, when I hit Control 5, call this other program that I've written somewhere else. Like there are two scripts that refer back to each other. It's much easier if I need to change something down the road, if I know what it was doing in the first place. Believers at pretty much the same rate, or even a better rate in some cases, like that. That study that found that people who were being prayed for and knew about it had worse
post-surgery outcomes than the people who were not being prayed for. If praying for me causes me to be more likely to experience complications rather than actual healing, then I'll take my chances with random chance, thanks very much. And now I'm half expecting to see the regular creation scrolls that show up in my comments, making it known that they are praying for me to have a long and healthy life so that I'll actually have a worse outcome in the end. That'll work, right?
Oh, sorry I'm late. Is this DaVinci? No, this is not DaVinci. This is Adobe. DaVinci, I used to use DaVinci. It's a great little program. I forget originally why I switched to Adobe, but I do like Adobe better. But DaVinci is awesome. Like, there's nothing wrong with it.
We can just as readily come up with
Instances in which he did. How often have we found ourselves in distress, alone and in desperate need, and heard nothing?
Yep, you'd expect that if a God was going to deny a prayer, he could at least go through the trouble of communicating that denial to us, instead of just ignoring us.
In gratitude, I present you this offering of cookies and milk. If you want me to eat them for you, give me no sign. That will be done.
Jesus tells us to knock and it shall be opened. I can think of plenty of times that I found nothing but a locked door. From the trivial things like praying that I pass a math test to quite serious things like praying for an end to war for the healing of a sick relative. What I asked for never came.
Meaning that God broke his promise to open when you knock.
On more than a few occasions in our lives, we're left with a challenging question. How do we reconcile the fact that God tells us to trust in him, tells us to go to him in prayer, and we will not be turned away, with our experience of being turned away?
Well, the most obvious way to reconcile that is to come to realize that the God that is described by the Bible is not consistent with our observed reality, so if we side with reality here, that would mean that God does not exist, at least not the God described by the Bible.
Now, obviously, I don't know the mind.
I'm supposed to learn DaVinci to start editing film. DaVinci's great. I find its strength is really in color grading, and I, for what are probably obvious reasons, I very rarely have to do any color grading. It's a freaking cartoon rhino that I don't even move around. So yeah, if you do a lot of color grading, DaVinci Resolve is fantastic for that. Adobe's got a pretty powerful color grading tool as well, but like, that's DaVinci's wheelhouse. You can't go wrong with DaVinci for that.
I don't claim to know how God works in every situation, and there are times, even as a priest, that I struggle with this question myself.
Hedging with the mysterious ways defense I see, so that even if you can't come up with a reasonable answer, it comes down to God's ways are above our ways. Never you mind that he could have made us with the capability of understanding why he does things the way he does and chose not to. Just trust that he's real and answers prayers in the best way possible, even if everything points to it not actually being the best way possible.
Faith doesn't remove this question. I do think it offers a few helpful answers. The first is that despite the sincerity of our prayers, there can be a flaw in our prayers.
Yeah, it's not that God doesn't answer prayers, it's that you didn't pray right. The problem isn't with God, it's with you. You did something wrong. You didn't believe hard enough. You didn't ask for the right thing. It's your fault. This is a
Dad. What? What do you want? What do you want, kid? Sorry, force of habit. When I hear someone whine that.
answer when paired with the fact that a lot of people are out there praying to just have enough money to get by and then end up evicted, living on the street without their basic needs being met.
Sometimes we simply ask for the wrong things.
Which then brings us into the territory of God only answering the prayers for things that he was going to do anyway, which in this case would leave us wondering, what's the point in praying in the first place? If you ask for the wrong thing, you are denied. But if you ask for something that is in line with God's will, he grants it. But would he not do the thing that is in line with his will anyway, whether you ask for it or not?
I'll give you an example. When I was in college, my girlfriend broke up with me. It's okay, I'm over it now. She was the love of my life, and I was absolutely devastated.
And you responded by joining an order of monks who vow to stay celibate for their entire lives. That seems perfectly healthy.
I prayed to God that she would come back to me, that we would be together again. But she never did. And I got angry with God, wondered why he wasn't with me in my time of need. But as I thought about it over the years, I've come to realize that it was kind of an unfair expectation of God. You see, God gives us each free will. He loves us enough to let us choose for ourselves what we do and who we love. In praying for my girlfriend to return, I was essentially asking God to take away her free will, to force her to do something that she did not want to do. This is not something that God will do, and so God couldn't answer my prayer as I wanted.
Okay, but the problem with that is that any prayer that isn't for something like nice weather or healing from disease or something like that, any prayer that involves other people in any way, will be violating free will in the same way as asking for your girlfriend to come back. You believe that God gave your dad a better job so that you could attend the school you wanted to. Did God mess with your father's free will so that he would apply for that job? Did he...
Let's see. There are images out there of God puppeting people. Sure, that one works. Maybe not. Oh, there, I've used this one before. Oh, damn it. Yeah, God hardening Pharaoh's heart. That's yeah, that's a big one. There we go. High-res version.
Nice weather or healing from disease or something like that, any prayer that involves other people in any way will be violating free will in the same way as asking for your girlfriend to come back.
You believe that God gave your dad a better job so that you could attend the school you wanted to. Did
God mess with your father's free will so that he would apply for that job? Did he mess with the free will of the person who decided to hire your father?
didn't, then
That means that your father was going to apply for that job and be hired anyway without God's intervention, which means that he didn't actually answer your prayer. That's just what was going to happen. In order for that to actually be an answered prayer, he had to have interfered with someone's free will along the line, which you just said is a kind of prayer that he will not answer because he doesn't do that.
When we feel that God is not answering our prayers, it might be good to take a step back and look at what we're actually asking for. Is it reasonable? Is it something that fits with who we know God to be? Is it something that will ultimately continue the work of God, building the kingdom and leading to salvation?
Well,
first thing you hear on the stream is, damn it. Yeah, that sounds about right. We're at the quiet part of the stream where I'm not really talking because you can't tell the difference between me talking and me talking.
The woman who died of cancer in the church I
Here.
used to attend? Absolutely, yes.
Dun, dun, dun.
All free, undoubtedly. And yet, God said no, or rather didn't bother to say yes, with the complete non-answer being the equivalent of a no, but without actually having him bother to tell anyone that his answer was no, leaving us to repeatedly pray for her healing for several years, despite God knowing that the ultimate answer would be no.
Or are we asking for something that contradicts the very nature of God?
Not sure how asking for healing for a believer would contradict God's nature when it says in God's word that he will heal believers, and more than that, would give believers the ability to heal anyone regardless of that person's belief status.
Sometimes God does not answer our prayers because there's something wrong with what we're asking for. If you ask God to not be God, your prayer is going to go unanswered.
Again, it's not that God isn't answering prayers, it's that
Yeah, okay, I know you can tell the difference, but it's hard to tell what I'm even saying if there's two me's talking at the same time saying different things.
something wrong with you. Kind of a gross message if you ask.
I also don't use it, as was pointed out earlier, I use a different tone when I'm recording than when I'm just chatting.
Other times, the prayer is not that we ask incorrectly, but that we fail to see when our prayers are actually answered.
Yep, that woman dying of cancer was actually an answer to our prayer for healing. Sure.
We say that God is not listening, that our prayers have fallen on deaf ears. But maybe the problem is that we failed to even look. Maybe we failed to see what's right in front of us. How many times I prayed for the recovery of a friend or family member, for help in a difficult time, only to forget about that prayer as soon as everything is all right.
That has literally never happened to me with anything that is actually a serious illness. And in any of the cases where someone in my life was healed from a serious illness, it had happened after I was an atheist. The primary example I can think of for that is when my son was hospitalized with severe bronchitis. I didn't pray for healing. I trusted in the medical staff to do the best that they could to help him heal. And they did. Notably, one of the nurses that was with him through the majority of that time was Muslim. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if she had at some point prayed to Allah for the healing of the little boy in her care. And
Oh, let's get a picture of Allah. Nobody likes pictures of Allah. Oh, am I going to have to go to DuckDuckGo for this? Because they'll just the word Allah in Arabic. Dun, 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 dun. Images. No, it's kind of like drawing Muhammad. Oh well.
he was healed. Does that count as points for Allah? Or is it maybe just that he received top-notch medical care in a timely fashion?
God answered my prayer exactly how I asked, but I never even noticed. The person got better, the crisis was averted, and I never even made the connection that it was because God was with me.
Okay, I'm not going to continue to harp on this point, but it is an objectively true statement that my life has gotten better since I left Christianity behind. Those two things are only slightly related. Yes, having my YouTube channel as my job allows me a great degree of...
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do a stream where I'm doing a double act with myself. That requires a level of preparation that I'm just not capable of, I guess. Yes, drawing Allah is forbidden. That's exactly why I was looking for a picture of Allah. So I wanted to use forbidden imagery. Although, come to think of it, I might get the video taken down from YouTube. I don't know why. Like, if the Muslim community found out and started flagging it, that would probably get it taken down.
That I wouldn't have had at any restaurant, but if I never started my channel, I'd still be happily serving up steaks at an overpriced steakhouse in Niagara Falls, making about the same amount of money as I'm making.
Okay, let's... Overpriced steak. Let's get images of that. Oh, you know what? I'm seeing one of these like places where you get like little tiny shaved bits of steak. At the very least, I can say the portion sizes were very big where I used to work. So you're like, yeah, it's overpriced, but it's not the same kind of overpriced as fine dining where they charge you $50 for a plate that doesn't fill you up. At least you'll leave the place full. Okay, let's see. Get a shot of some actual food that we actually served at that restaurant. Why would they take a picture of that? Okay. I don't know why they got the picture of the ribeye instead of the porterhouse on the wooden tree plank thing. They only served the porterhouse on that. But still be happily serving up steak. My channel, I'd still be happily serving up steaks at an overpriced steakhouse in Niagara Falls, making about the same amount of money as I'm making now, living a much better life than I ever did as a Christian. Like, I will, like, yes, they're overpriced steaks, but I'll at least say that they are damn good. So, like, if you're a tourist out for, like, yeah, like, if it's a once-in-a-while thing, sure, why not? Go to the overpriced steakhouse. It's actually really good. But you're going to be paying, like, if there's two of you, it's going to be at least $120 if you're getting steaks.
If you ever used a walkie-talkie, you know that in order to speak, you have to press down the button. And to listen, you have to let the button go.
Unless, of course, it's a movie and you need someone to hear the other side of that conversation for plot reasons.
Sometimes we never let the button go. We talk and talk and talk, waiting for an answer, but it never comes. God could be on the other hand answering away, but as long as we keep the button pressed down, as long as we refuse to listen, we'll never know it.
And this all-powerful being is apparently not strong enough to get around this human limitation, for which I'm sure the excuse will be something along the lines of...
Oh, vegetarian steak in France? Yeah, actually, so... This just made me think of, so when I was working at the steakhouse, I actually once had a single diner come in by herself. She's vegan, coming into a steakhouse. They don't have any vegan options on the menu. They have a couple of vegetarian options, but there's no vegan options. So, like, the kitchen whipped her up a pasta primavera just out of nowhere and was like, I don't know, charge her for the ravioli. It's like, if you're a vegan, why would you go to a steakhouse by yourself? Especially, like, this was a big hotel complex with, like, 10 other restaurants in it. Like, you got options. And it's right, like, it's right in the tourist district of Niagara Falls, so you got options outside the hotel as well. Just go for a little bit of a walk. Like, go somewhere there are vegan restaurants in Niagara Falls. Go to one of those. You'll have a much better time than at a steakhouse. It's like, hey, whatever, she enjoyed her primavera, so sure, why not?
Would we expect God to force us to listen to him when we're not willing? When the fact of the matter is that the people in the situations described here would be more than willing to listen, if only he'd actually speak up a bit.
A lot of times, the answer is not that God won't answer our prayers, it's that he's presently working on it, and it's just not done yet.
Because the all-powerful creator of the universe is limited by the time dimension that he supposedly exists outside of. Right. I'm skipping the next little bit. It's just him explaining that he prayed to God for guidance, and it took him a while in between praying for guidance and ending up deciding to be a Franciscan monk.
Looking back, I can see that it was those experiences that made me into the person I am today. That, honestly, without those struggles, I would likely have never become a Franciscan or priest.
Again,
steakhouses have baked potatoes and salad. Yeah, but she didn't want a baked potato as her main course. And I think, like, she didn't want a salad either, not as the main course. Like, we could do a salad vegan. I think, like, all the salads had some form of cheese on it, so they're not vegan by default. But But again, it's like she's there for a meal. She wants to leave full. You don't just want it like a salad.
This video is directed at Christians, but as an atheist, I hear this and think, so without those struggles, you wouldn't be wasting your life in service to a deity that apparently does not exist, and to an organization that regularly covers up crimes like child rape? So I feel like a different path would have been better for you.
No, when things don't go as we want, we jump right to God doesn't answer my prayers.
Again, though, to bring it back around to the opening Bible verse, God says that he will answer your prayers, and he doesn't put all the conditions on them that you are. Those are entirely post hoc rationalizations designed to make you remember the hits and forget the misses, because the misses were your own fault for not asking God for what God was going to do anyway.
So yeah, sometimes we ask wrong. Sometimes we can't see what's right before us. But other times, honestly, I think most of the time, the reason that we feel that God has abandoned us and locked the door is because we have a fundamentally skewed understanding of what prayer is.
Prayer is something that doesn't make sense in a universe with an all-knowing, all-powerful God who wants what is best for you. Because in such a world, God already knows what is best for you, and since he wants that and has the ability to make that happen, then that's exactly what he will do. Prayer is basically an admission that God...
It was actually hard for me not to go off on a problem of evil tangent there. I think if I remember right, I actually wrote one into the script and then I was like, no, that's not what this video is about. Like, this is not a video directed at atheists trying to combat objections. This is a video directed at Christians trying to figure out why praying doesn't actually work. Did she say anything about why she went there instead of literally anywhere more suitable? No, she didn't. She just, like, she knew it was weird. Like, she commented, like, yeah, I know it's a steakhouse and I'm a vegan, but do you have anything? It's like, yeah, we can figure something out. That's actually one of the things about working at one of these overpriced fancy restaurants is that basically if you want something and we don't have it, we'll figure something out. It's like it's not like some of the smaller restaurants where they don't have the resources or the profit margin to be able to do that sort of thing. It's just like, no, you get what's on the menu. If you don't like it, then go somewhere else sort of thing. It's very much a, we want everybody to have the best experience possible. So, like, yeah, you're vegan? Okay, we'll do a pasta primavera. And I say that, like, they whipped her up a pasta primavera in a hurry or whatever. It's not like they didn't slack on it. They made a good pasta primavera. Like, it was good. She enjoyed it. It was an excellent dish. But still, you're vegan at a steakhouse.
Is the kind of jerk who wants you to beg him to do the thing that he was going to do anyway. Thy will be done. God will do his will, no matter what, but he still wants to hear you beg him for it.
So often we approach God as if God were an all-powerful genie.
Well, that is how he presents himself in the verses where he says that he'll do anything we ask through prayer, like the one you opened this video with.
We come with requests, making known what we want, and do our best to convince God to give it to us. We say, Lord, your will be done. But in reality, what we're trying to do is conform God's will to be more like our own.
Yep, here we go. God will only grant a prayer if you pray for what God already wanted to do anyway. Sorry, but that makes God look like more of a mob boss.
I think I'm actually going to get this done before I have to go get the kids. I might be able to take a bit of the afternoon off. That'll be nice.
All-loving being in my mind.
We want God to see the way we do, and so we get what we want. Does everyone see how there's something truly backwards about this?
Yeah, it's only backwards in the sense that prayer is an exercise in futility to begin with.
Yeah, so a vegan wouldn't go to a steakhouse alone, but if I was there for some other reason, I could manage with a baked potato, a bread, and a salad. Yeah, no, absolutely. So this was not the first vegan to show up in the steakhouse. It was just kind of weird that she was alone. So, like, we definitely have accommodated vegans before, and usually it's in a group of people, like not even... It was very rare that it'd just be two people where one of them was vegan, because generally speaking, you go out with two people. For the most part, you're on a date. And if you're dating someone and they're vegan and you say, okay, let's go to the steakhouse, I feel like they should dump you. Maybe not. Maybe that's a bit extreme, but like if I know someone that I'm dating doesn't eat certain things, I'm not going to drag them to a restaurant that specializes in those exact things that they don't eat. But yeah, so for the most part it was in like larger group scenarios, and you know, they were always good about accommodating it. It just really was weird when there's one by themselves.
Given that God is going to do his will, whether or not you pray for it.
Prayer, by its very nature, is not about convincing God to be more like us, but allowing God to transform us to be more like God.
So, to mess with our free will? I don't understand how this works in the framework that you already laid out.
What we often miss...
Yeah, bread isn't usually vegan. It can be. The bread that we had, I think there were two kinds of loaves. One was an egg loaf, or like it was like not egg loaf, but brioche. It was a brioche, and it had an egg brushing on it or whatever. And they get their bread frozen, so you can't just have them whip up a batch with no egg brushing or whatever. But I think, if I remember right, the second loaf that we had, which I forget what it was actually vegan friendly. don't remember for sure. So I'm vegan, wouldn't ever go somewhere where they don't know what the word means. How could I ever be sure they aren't accidentally adding something I wouldn't eat? Yeah, that's a valid point. Now, at a steakhouse, we did know what the word means. But, like, yeah, it's still a steakhouse. Like, if I were vegan, I probably wouldn't trust a steakhouse to keep everything separate as well. And, like, make sure you're cooking my pasta sauce or whatever in a pan that's not just been used to saute something in butter sort of thing. I don't know. They'd use clean pans for anything anyway, but still, I wouldn't trust them to have not been cross-contaminating. They probably didn't. But, yeah. One of the fun things about being a former waiter, especially at some of the more fancy places where they take food, like dietary restrictions, more seriously, is that I often know, like, someone will come in and say, I'm a vegetarian. And I'd be like, okay, what kind of vegetarian? Because there are all sorts. Like, some vegetarians are actually pescatarians. They eat fish. Some vegetarians are, like, they'll like, some of them will, like, eat, like, eggs, but they won't eat dairy products that aren't eggs. Some are the other way around, where they'll eat eggs, but they won't eat dairy. There's so many different types of vegetarian, and a lot of times the vegetarians themselves are unaware of the other types. They just think that theirs is the one type, and they're like surprised when I would ask for more details than just vegetarian. I don't mind cross-contamination, has no bearing on ethics. Tell that to my daughter. We dirty so many dishes when I don't do a vegetarian meal. It's like, even just like she's a vegetarian, not vegan. She used to be a pescatarian, but she went all the way vegetarian recently. So the other day I made craft dinner, but like with hot dogs. And so we've got the vegetarian hot dogs and the non-vegetarian hot dogs. So chicken hot dogs, a little bit healthier. And yeah, so I had to, like, it took 3 pots to make craft dinner, because I'm boiling my hot dogs, I'm boiling her hot dogs, and I'm boiling the pasta. If she was okay with cross-contamination, that would have been a little easier, because you can tell the veggie dogs from the non-veggie dogs. I could have boiled them in the same pot. But, yeah, it is what it is. I actually eat mostly vegetarian meals when I cook, because it's just easier. If everybody in the house is just a vegetarian, then I don't have to worry about keeping things separate.
Understand about prayer is that it's not about letting God do everything for us while we check out.
No, that's right. When God answers your prayers, it's through your own actions. So you answer your own prayers, and if your prayers go unanswered, that's also your fault. Almost as though God is superfluous in this whole thing. You do it yourself, or it doesn't get done. I was impressed with myself when I recorded that, because I got through the word superfluous on my first take. That never happens. That word always trips me up, except when I'm not recording. Like now. Like I said it fine now. So, like, when I got it through, like, on the first take there, I was so happy. If you do it yourself, that was God. If it doesn't get done, that's your fault for not asking right. What a toxic worldview.
It's about receiving grace and strength so that God can work through us. All throughout human history, God has used his servants and prophets to perform miracles. What made the prophets great was not that they were amazing speakers or had power within themselves. It was that they were so close to God in prayer that they knew what needed to be done.
Which, alarmingly frequently, Israel conquering Canaan. Need to get visual of the genocide, because having visuals of genocide makes your video more likely to stay monetized, right? They're like alarmingly frequently was the. Oftentimes it's like classical paintings like this, where it's like YouTube doesn't care. The genocide of another culture, whether that had to be the Philistines, the Canaanites, the Amalekites, or any of the myriad of other genocides that God condones or commands in the Bible through his prophets. Let's just keep that up till the end.
They knew that they
They needed to take responsibility, to announce justice, to perform acts of charity, rather than going to God simply to deposit our prayer and walk away feeling like everything's been taken care of. Sometimes the reason that our prayers seem unanswered is because we have failed to take what God has given us and put it towards what we hope for.
This message is so goddamn toxic. You're not good enough for God to answer your prayers. You're too selfish, asking for things that are against God's nature. You're too lazy, not doing what God requires of you in order to get what he promised would come through prayer. It's all you. God can do no wrong, even when he acts in a way that is explicitly contradicted by how the Bible says he will act. It's just gross.
Through prayer, God offers us peace, inspiration, and strength, not so that we can feel good about ourselves, but so that we can take these things out to the world, to put to action the changes we know need to be done to do our part in building up the kingdom.
Because, heaven forbid we actually feel good about ourselves ever. Gotta get that Catholic guilt in there somehow.
As long as we view prayer as a means of one-way communication, where all we're concerned with is trying to convince God to do things for us, we're going to ask for the wrong things.
That's not what the Bible says. Maybe that is what some ancient theologian says that they think the Bible means when it says other things, but it's not what the Bible actually says.
We are going to fail to see God's work right in front of us.
My goddamn cat is stabbing me in the hand because she wants me to pet her. I'm trying to work. She does love her neck scritches. I finally got her claws clipped, though, so it doesn't hurt when she stabs me in the hand anymore.
And we are most certainly going
That's clipped, not removed. Just nail trim.
to opportunities for God to answer prayer through us. Ask and it will be given to you.
As long as you ask for the right things in the right way.
On the day I called for help, you answered me.
As long
Exactly.
As the prayer for help was made
Love me,
appropriately, and you worked toward and were successful at solving your own problems without prayer to begin with.
I believe these things to be true with all my heart.
Conditionally.
She's the I've never seen a cat like her that is so expressive with her paws. Like, she will use her paws to get what she wants. Like when we were clipping her claws, she would, like most cats would try to escape, or like they might take a swipe at the person doing the clipping, but like she would actually like gently put her paw on the hand that was holding the clippers and push it away, like just gently, ever so politely. And because she didn't like it, so she'd push it away. And she did try to escape a couple times, but like when she was actually doing the clipping, she would like put her paw on it and push it away. And now she's like clawing at my hand to get me to pet her. And she'll like, if she's she likes hair, so if you're sitting on the couch and she's like behind you, and she'll like rub her head in your hair, and if you move your head away from her when she's doing that, if she's not ready for it or for you to move away, she'll like reach around and claw your face and pull you back. So yeah, it's you had to argue over whether honey is vegan. Yeah, so strictly speaking, honey's not vegan, but if you eat honey, like if you come in and tell me you're a vegan and you say you want something with honey on it, then I might be like, okay, that's weird, but I'll serve it to you. Like I once had a person, they came in, they looked at the menu, and when I went to take their order, they said, well, I'm a vegan, so I'd better get the tuna. And I don't know whether they were joking or whether they honestly thought tuna was vegan, but like, okay, you ordered the tuna, I'll give you the tuna. That's your choice. It's not my diet, it's your diet. Why do cats escape from clipping anyway? It doesn't hurt them, right? No, it doesn't hurt. It's uncomfortable. It's same with clipping a kid's fingernails. When they're young enough, they don't like it, even though it doesn't hurt, so they fight it. I can only think it's the same thing with cats. They're basically little kids.
True, baby.
God does answer our prayers, but I do not believe that God is simply going to do everything for us exactly as we want when we want it. If that is how we view prayer, then yes, unfortunately, we're going to feel that God doesn't answer our prayers from time to time.
I mean, that is how the Bible views prayer, but even so, even if we set that aside, God doesn't answer prayers any more reliably than random chance does, which then gives us no reason to think that God answers prayers to begin with.
And that would be a shame. If you're feeling distraught because of unanswered prayers, wondering where God is in a time of great need, it might be an opportunity to change your mindset.
Yeah, it would. The best change, in my opinion, would be to stop relying on an unreliable God and do what you can to change your circumstances yourself. Of course, this is not always possible, but when it is possible, it's more empowering to stop thinking that a magical being will solve your problems for you and work towards solving them for yourself. And as Casey has essentially said in this video, that's basically where God is going to leave you anyway, so you may as well act as though God doesn't exist, because God certainly acts that way.
Prayer is not about making God more like us. It's about making us more like God. Ask for that, and your prayer will always be answered.
Be the God of your own life, as apologists so often accuse atheists doing anyway. It'll have the same result in the end.
That's it for this one. Today's comment of the day comes to us from
Fook you, who says, minor nitpick, but persons don't get pregnant. Females get pregnant. This is rather absolute in nature of mammals.
Well, without getting into the details of just screenshot of the website I'm referring to. Disagreement over whether or not honey is vegan because of the disagreement about what veganism actually is. It's just about animal products. If it's just about animal products, it's not. But if it's about exploitation, it is. But honey is an animal product. It is made by bees who they have to ingest pollen and then they vomit out the honey. Like, it's basically the same as milk, except it doesn't come out an udder; it comes out their mouth. So I don't know. And if I have to argue with the server at a vegan restaurant, then I have no faith in strictly non-vegan restaurants to honor my dietary restrictions. That's perfectly fair. That's absolutely fair. And honey is tasty vomit. That it is. Catholic Church at some point declared that fish is not meat. Is that why they do Fish Fridays? Are they supposed to not eat meat on Fridays? Because, I mean, strictly speaking, like, I think culinarily speaking, fish is not meat. But that's like that's I feel that's splitting hairs.
That's how complicated biological sex is, which, if you're interested, I'd recommend reading.
Boop. Stephen Novella's article on the science of biological sex, linked down below. But Stephen Novella is great. If you don't listen to Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, you should. It's a good podcast.
But without getting into that, the only reason to point out that females are the ones who get pregnant in response to me using the phrase pregnant people is if you don't consider females to be people, which I do. So pregnant people is accurate, and there's really no good reason to object to that kind of inclusive language. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Tim Robertson for being my Patreon manager. Thanks to this week's PayPal heroes Eric and Janice, and special thanks as always to my patrons, who are the prayers that are ignored by the God that is.
Let's do... do a little bit of trolling here and throw a picture of Canadian milk bags in when I reference the milk jugs channel. If you'd like your prayers to be answered with about the same effectiveness as praying to a milk jug, you can join us on Patreon for as little as $1 per week over at patreon.com/ViceRhino, or by supporting the channel in one of the other methods that can be found at links.vicerhino.com, which is also where you'll find links to my other projects. If for whatever reason you want to send me stuff, my PO box address is in the description. See you next time. There we go. Oh, did I swear in this one? I normally try to mark where I'm swearing. Boop. So that when I edit the podcast, I don't have to search for it from the beginning every time. Boop. There we go. And this guy gets updated once a month after patron cards are charged. Set that to YouTube 1080p. If my frame rate suddenly drops, it'll be because I'm starting the render. Media encoder's still loading. I don't think you guys can see it. But also, streaming generally uses CPU, whereas rendering would use GPU, so it should be fine. What was I going to do? Oh yeah, go to the script. I'm going to search for swear words. Did not say fuck. Did not say shit. I said goddamn once. Does goddamn need to be censored to avoid the explicit tag on podcasts? Okay, where do I go camping? Used to go to Long Point, which I won't go to again as they cram campers together with no green space between. Yeah, I hate that. That's most campgrounds do that. I tend to prefer the conservation areas. Now, this past week, if you're referring to the camping that I mentioned in the video, that was actually last week because I got the videos done in advance. We went to the Niagara Falls Yogi Bear Park thing. That was because the kids had one of their friends' mothers suggested it. Like, oh, we'll just rent a little yurt there and take the kids for a couple days. And like, Okay, sure. Why not? It was more of a friend activity than a camping activity. When I go camping, I tend to prefer conservation areas. My go-to is generally Valen's conservation area. It's near African Line Safari, just north of Hamilton on Highway 6. It's a great little place to go camping, and there are some areas where the campsites feel pretty close together, but there's generally at least a bush or something in between campsites. They're not focused on just like cramming as many people in as you possibly can. It's a conservation area. They're focused on conservation, so it's pretty good. I like it. Okay. Oh no, I forgot to put the like and subscribe graphic in. Oh well. I went for years without one of those. I can do one video without it now. Yeah, what counts as swearing is weird. You know what? So Skeptic's Guide to the Universe is kind of what I go by for whether or not a swear word is allowed, because they occasionally swear, but they do censor out the more strong swear words. I think they do say goddamn occasionally. I think I've heard them say that. I'm actually pretty sure that they say shit and don't censor it, and it doesn't get marked as explicit. It's just my understanding is that if you get one episode of your podcast marked as explicit, then the whole podcast gets marked as explicit, and then your ad revenue just drops. And right now, my podcast basically, I get about the same money per view as a podcast as I do for the actual video. So that's the ideal, is that I want to keep it there so that like it doesn't matter to me which way you choose to consume my media. It's the same either way. So whatever works best for you guys, and that's where I want to keep it. So if I mark my podcast as explicit and suddenly I'm not getting ads on it anymore, so I'm not getting paid for it anymore, then I'm not going to be, I'm now disincentivized to promote it as something that you guys can listen to, because I'd rather you watch it as a video. And like the whole reason I started the podcast was so you could avoid, like you can listen to it with the screen off while you're cleaning or whatever, and avoid having to pay for YouTube Premium to do that. Because like I love YouTube Premium, I love not having ads, but it's not for everybody, and I get that. So I want to make it's accessibility. I want as many people to enjoy my content as easily as possible. Long Point has deer. Valen's has chipmunks. I remember there was one year we were camping there. As we were having breakfast the day we were leaving, there were like literally chipmunks like playing at our feet under the table. So it was adorable. Anyway, I should probably finish editing this because I need to do the podcast cut. I'm not going to censor the goddamn. Come on. So I'm just gonna, it makes my life easier. I only have to do one version, because patrons get it uncensored. And then I just take the end off there, because that's just dead air on a podcast. Take the fair use disclaimer off. And then I have my podcast intro, which is right here. Nope, not essential graphics. Essential sound, dialogue, auto match. And I already did noise removal on that clip, so we're good. And then export it again, but this time MP3 high quality. Sent to media encoder. And the other one's still going, so it'll just move on to that one when it's done. And there we go. That's you guys got to, if you're here from the beginning of the stream, you got to see my whole process, basically, from recording to exporting. I still have to do a thumbnail, but that's just me struggling to figure out how Photoshop works. But yeah, it's been fun for me. I hope it's been fun for you. It was good for me. Was it good for you too? So, let's see. Where's my stream? Where's my stream at? There we go. Yeah, so I'm gonna call it quits, and I guess taking an afternoon off. I guess I could have lunch. I haven't done that yet. Oh, I'm sorry, Marianne, that you missed it. It's still all up. You can go watch it, but it's less interactive when you're watching it as a replay. I'm not going to take it down. So, yeah, hopefully some of my European fans were able to catch this one, because I know that's one of the big complaints, is that I always stream at ungodly hours for Europe. The dancing is cute. No, this isn't dancing. I'm walking on a treadmill. Yeah, no, I guess if you come in and you see me just popping back and forth like this, and you weren't here when I turned the treadmill on, that would look weird. But yeah, no, it's me walking on a treadmill because I worked in restaurants my whole life. I'm used to walking around. The idea of sitting still for hours while I edit crap is just not appealing, so I have a treadmill. Yeah, so that's about it. I'm gonna hit the end credits button. I don't think the sound will come through, but it might. We'll see.